Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the match between Munster and the Lions. There is one spot left in the quarterfinals. It is either going to Munster or it's going to Ulster. The Lions, no matter what happens in this game, they are safe. But it's just that question of where will they finish in the top 8 alongside the other 7 teams. But looking through at the table, currently, we know Glasgow are first. Leinster got themselves a great win over Osprey, so they finished second. They are your home semi-finalists, both for the favourites to win those quarterfinals. The Stormers, then the Bulls. The South African side's very close behind. And then Cardiff, Connacht, Lions, Ulster, and then Munster. As you can see, they're sitting just outside of the top 8. But they have got their game here up against the Lions. Even if they received, I believe, 1 bonus point from this game, it would be enough for Munster to confirm a spot within that top 8 because of the points. Or actually more so because of the games won. But they'll want more than that here. If they get themselves a bonus point victory, they could go as high as 5th. But either way, it looks like a win for Munster means a South African matchup in their quarterfinals. Around the corner for the Lions, if they were able to win, they can go as high as 5th as well. So they will be more than likely facing either the Bulls or the Stormers. A South African derby could be on the cards. Although if the Lions do struggle in this contest, more than likely, they will face Leinster, and that will be quite the matchup as well. But looking through at previous form for these two sides, Munster last week, it's best not to talk about that one. They did not perform at all in their game up against Connacht, and tell you what, Connacht, they are the dream story at the moment when it comes to the quarterfinals. They were outside of the top 8 at the start of the round, and they just dug deep throughout the last 2 weeks. They've managed to get themselves 2 wins out of 2 and book themselves a very impressive spot through to the quarterfinals. The week prior to that, though, Munster had a brilliant win over Ulster, 41 points to 14. The week prior, 45 to 15, so quite a common kind of scoreline at the moment for Munster over those 2 weeks in a row, and then losing it in the round of 16 of the Challenge Cup. Not necessarily a bad thing. We've seen what kind of impact it's had on Ulster's Champions Cup, on their URC campaign. From going further in that competition, the focal point has gone away from the United Rugby Championship. And it may be the difference between them making it through and missing out for this round of the competition. For the Lions, they were beaten badly by Leinster in the last round. So both of these sides actually coming off 1-try defeats in terms of scoring 1 try themselves and then the opposition scoring a lot more. The Lions were able to beat Connacht. That was 33 points to 21. And then also a very impressive win over the Glasgow Warriors, the top of the table side that at the time of losing that game to the Lions, followed by a loss up against the Stormers too. It seemed like that was going to knock Glasgow off the perch in number 1 seed. But from a couple other results we've seen, Glasgow able to take that number 1 spot straight back in their favour. So those are the stipulations. And also, those are the previous fixtures. Looking through at the starting lineups for Munster, it is Jeremy Luckman in the front row alongside Niall Scannell and Michael Alala-Toa, Thomas Ahern and Wickerley as the locking duo, with O'Donoghue, Hodnett and Brian Gleeson slotting in as the number 8. Craig Casey and Jack Crowley as the dangerous 9 and 10 combination. Sean O'Brien out on the left wing, Dan Kelly and Alex Nankerville at 13. Andrew Smith at 14 and Mike Haley slots in as fullback for Munster. In this contest for the Lions, it is SJ Kutsia, PJ Botia and Sebastian Lombard. We're going to have to mention it at some stage. No Clubber Kanye for this matchup or for the next 18 months due to his suspension that he did recently receive. Nathaniel alongside Darian Landsberg in the locking duo. Mahashe has been going well, so he gets the start at 6. They've got Klakane as the starting 7, and then also it is Frankie Horn. Now, I think that I said Klakane as the suspended rather than Nalabakanye, but yeah, he is still there, Klakane, and a very handy player to have in that loose forward trio. Frankie Horn, the captain, he'll be looking to see this Lions side really step up for this matchup, try and finish the season or the regular season on a high. No matter what happens, the Lions will be underdogs heading into their quarterfinal. They'll either be playing Leinster, who they just got beaten by over 20 points. They'll either be playing the Bulls, where they will be playing them at Loftus, which, to be fair to the Lions, they did win that last head-to-head at Loftus. And then the Stormers, the side that were one of the sure favourites heading into the next stage of the competition. After that, lost to Cardiff, maybe slightly less, but still a very hard side to beat. Lions are going to need their pack firing on all cylinders. For this game, Morne Funenberg and Chris Smith as at 9 and 10. Angelo David's out on the left wing. Richard Creel and Henko van Wyk in the midfield with Kelly Mpeku and Kieran Horn as that number 15. We have got there what are the bookies saying. At this stage, the Lions come in as slight underdogs. Not a massive underdog. A $2.80 compared to $1.40, so pretty close in that regard. We have got the Scarlets 35, Dragons 35. Yeah, the draw just taking place. Probably one of the best games of the weekend, to be fair to them, but one of the games that not many people were keeping an eye on due to both sides being outside of the top 8 and in a scenario where no matter what happened, they still weren't really going to change a massive amount when it comes to that table, which we are going to show. We did show it earlier on, but we'll show it again. We'll probably show it 15 times throughout this live stream as well because of the fact that there is so much that can change. We explained where Munster can find themselves if they get themselves a big victory, more than likely 5th or 6th, and then also the Lions, they can move as high as 5th. But either way, Munster need 1 point here. If they don't receive it, they are out of the URC competition, and that would be quite a shock for this Munster team. They are a side that have won the URC Championship before. Hillary and Kerry watching from Ireland. I was able to watch a great Leinster performance game here. Yeah, they did brilliantly in their game up against the Ospreys. I was looking through at the try scorers. How many did Joe McCarthy get for himself in the end? I think he had a hat trick, didn't he? The big man. And then also, we just saw them keep on going, which is exactly what you'd expect from Leinster. They're building momentum, confidence, all sorts, heading into their Champions Cup game next week up against Bordeaux. And then the week after that, they've got their quarterfinal, more than likely, I would say, up against the Lions, but I don't want to jinx anything. And of course, it can change in an instant for this competition. Luckily, there's only the one game playing at once, though, rather than the 3 like we had for yesterday. We got Hi Hamish says, Daryl, welcome in. Hope you are doing well. We've got Ruth here too. And also we have got Kevin saying that the Lions will get the victory. And also I just hope Lions can pull away, says Annette. And they're a little bit earlier on as well. And Lions don't have a chance, says Daka. Well, the good news is they're at least in the top 8. So no matter what happens here, they will still be able to walk into 2 weeks' time with a match. And I always look at that as a massive positive because we've got to remember, how many years in a row has it been for the Lions where they've almost made the top 8 and narrowly missed out? I think it's about the last 3 or so, to be fair. So we will go through them. We might as well look at it because the Lions, this is a season that should be celebrated. They finished 11th in last year's season. That was probably one of their worst finishes in the past few years. The year prior to that, they finished 9th and they had the same amount of points as the Ospreys, but because they had lost one more game than the Ospreys went through as number 8. From there, 2022-23 season, they finished 9th. They lost out to the Sharks by 3 points in terms of the cutoff. So, we're talking about a side that have been very close multiple times, and now they finally get to see what it's like to be in a URC quarterfinal. Now, unfortunately, more than likely, they'll be facing Leinster, a side that will be very determined to get themselves another URC title. But just being in the quarters will be a massive opportunity for them. I went as the semi-final and the final after the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals 2 weeks' time, semi-final the week after, final the week after that. So final is going to be taking place in around 4 weeks' time. The Lions were my childhood team, and many Lions supporters here, says Daka there. And is it 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5? I can't be mistaken. No, you are 100% correct there. So at this point in time, once we see someone score a try in this game, we'll keep you updated about who's playing who in the quarterfinals. Because, of course, for the Lions, they don't really need many points, but getting more points will result in them more than likely facing a South African side, which they haven't done too badly throughout the season. If they stay where they are currently, they will be facing Leinster. Bit more of a challenge, definitely after that recent result at the Aviva just last week. We've got there, so it's the same day as the Springboks' first game up against the Barbarians. Yeah, whoever did that planning was an idiot, to be honest, because the chance of it being a South African side in that contest is probably quite high because of the fact that we've seen South African sides in every other final. So it could be the case how there's that game taking place beforehand, South Africa A versus Zimbabwe. It may overlap with the URC final. I really hope it doesn't, but yeah, it's poor management, and it kind of reminds me of Argentina playing South Africa during the Women's Rugby World Cup final. And depending on how you look at it, depends on what you think of it. But, there are times where maybe they could have looked at finding a different time for that South African game rather than at the time of a pinnacle of a competition. But that's something else. And sup, Hamish? I'm just here for some Irish tears. My team made 4, says Martin. My team made 4. So that would be the Stormers in that case, right? They were overtaken by the Bulls at the final hurdle. Would have been interesting had the Stormers not got that bonus point, though. It could have been a very different story. But either way, it does seem like we're going to get some sort of South African derby if the Lions can receive some points from this contest. But Munster will want to stop it. It's at Fortman Park as well. Ria must be biting his nails, says Ryan there. And what happens if the Bulls play in the final? What happens with the players? Well, that's another thing. More than likely, half those players won't be eligible or available to play for the Box anyway. Because what Rasi did, at least I think it was last year, is those players weren't able to be selected. So if we see a South Africa versus South Africa final somehow in the URC, there'll be a lot of guys unavailable for that Barbarians test. But at the same time, they'll still be fine. They'll find other players. What, Bulls is 3rd? Says Martin. Yeah, and you said your team was in 4th. So I assume that was the Stormers, unless you're talking about the Bulls. In which case, oh no, sorry, the Bulls are 4th. Wait, did I say 4th? No, I might have got myself muddled up. But yeah, Bulls 4th, Stormers 3rd in the table overall. So yeah, Bulls must be your team. Our Lions are not used to playing in front of crowds, so maybe nervous. There's TVPC. Yeah, although they've done decently on the road throughout the season. They've had a couple good wins along the way. But I think that the underdog status of this Lions team is something that's actually propelled them throughout this season. They are the team that gets talked about the least out of the South African sides. There is so much talk about the Sharks and their failure of a season. Harsh on the Sharks, I know. It seems like I'm just firing shots at the Sharks left, right and centre at the moment. But, they are the team that at this stage haven't been able to perform. This Lions side, they certainly haven't. There's been a late change here for Munster. Even O'Connell comes into the locking jar. That is rather than Finan Workley, who has been left out. We have got there, says Mohadeen there. And can we see Lions versus Bulls or Stormers? The Lions did beat the Lions before in the season, says Hardest. It is, if the Lions win this game, we're going to see a South African derby. If the Lions lose this game without bonus points, they will be facing Leinster, a side that beat them by around that 25 points last week. We have the Lions will win URC and Australia will win Eurovision. Are Australia even in Eurovision? I didn't realise they were. We have got the Imagine being the Bulls. Or Hamish, imagine the Bulls humbles the Lions, Loftus, by 45 points to 19. Do the Lions need humbling, though? Is the big question I would have. Because this side has performed well above expectations. And they still come into pretty much every game they take on as a bit of an underdog. So to humble a side that you are favourites to beat, it's just beating them, isn't it? But the Bulls will want redemption because they were, I guess you could say, humbled in their own right by the Bulls the last time they played at Loftus. The Lions beat them, and they beat them badly. So, it would be an interesting rematch. And that's something that's always exciting about these quarterfinals. You see the head-to-heads, you see what they did throughout the season, and then you get to kind of make up your mind on a prediction and a kind of, a build-up for it. I'm a Connacht boy. Wouldn't mind if there was a new URC winner. Yeah, so far we've had 5 years of the URC, and every year there's been a different winner. Or 4 years. 4 years URC, 5 years. We've had the Stormers, we've had Glasgow, Leinster, Munster. There must be someone else, right? Or is it only the 4? If the Lions win the UFC, then Eddie Japan win the World Cup, same odds. Says Martin. And I have your thoughts on the Saints-Bears game that ended 94-33. I haven't watched it yet, but must have been a bit of a hectic one when it comes to the sides on attack. I don't mind a scoreline like that. I know that some people are like, oh, it's terrible for rugby. There's no defence. It's poor. But at the end of the day, we've also got to remember rugby's about entertainment. And for anyone who watched that game in the stadium, they wouldn't have known what end to be watching of the field because there were tries being run in left, right and centre. So, you know, if you're someone who's just got into rugby and you watch that game, you're going to think, well, rugby's pretty hectic and it's full on. It's 80 minutes of just non-stop action. And that type of game would be the type of one that might get you hooked on it. And then from there, you start to learn more about the intricate set pieces and the pods and all that fun stuff that then makes your brain hurt after a while. Only 4. So he's a real pie man. We have got there, who do the Stormers play? At the moment, it's unconfirmed because I've got about 3 different sides that they could face in the quarterfinals. But as soon as we get some points in this game, we'll start to give you a little bit more of an accurate representation of who's playing who. But this one's going to be kicked off now, and we are underway. There is actually not a single quarterfinal that is currently confirmed, believe it or not, because Ulster are still waiting to find out if they're going to be a part of the quarterfinals. They're currently in 8th. I'm waiting on to see if Munster can get themselves some bonus points. It's a good kick downfield from inside of their 22 off the Lions kickoff. Will be the Lions line out now, about 40 metres out. I don't think the Lions are in the UFC. Is Mac there? But Clayton McMillan with the big old Munster cap on. He's been doing nicely with this side at times throughout the season. There have been frustrations. I think that's been the case for all sides in the URC, but it's how you get through those that really show whether or not you are a brilliant side. And that's a nice break off the back. PJ Buata trying to get it away on the short side. This was a knock on, and it's just ruled as one rather than a deliberate knockdown. Top for a set, right? Correct, yes. Just no one knows who they're going to be playing at this stage. My brother played in the second league match in Embarrassed primary school by 55-0, says Hiljalma. You love that word embarrassed and whatnot, and humbled was the other one, wasn't it? But you're not ideal, but they'll learn from it. We used to get beaten by score lines like that. It didn't mean that our 9 and 10 ever passed the ball, though. We just waited and defended all day. But it's good tackle practice, I guess. And let's go the Lions, says Johnny Blaze. Of course, I should say good morning to those in New Zealand tuning in for this one. A nice early morning start on a Sunday, 6:47 at the moment. Here in Kiwi land by Morne Funenberg. Lions are wearing the black with the red trim because of the fact that Munster are in the bright red for their home game. Scarlets vs Dragon was a decent game. Yeah, probably the best game of the weekend, wasn't it? With how those two sides went. But it was probably, it's harsh to say, but probably one of the least watched games of the weekend. We have there, Bath go win the premiership, says Mohadin. And I will give you 2,000 Rand if Stormers win the URC, says Mohadin. Well, they're probably, they have a decent chance. It's the away semi-final that might hurt them. And I think that's a concern for not just South African sides, but all sides when it comes to the away games. Nice quick tap taken by Morne Funenberg off the scrum. A knock on from Henko van Wyk, which gives the ball straight back to Munster, who are inside of their 22. Kick downfield from, I want to say that was Brian Gleeson there, who gave it a boot. Oh no, in fact, it was actually Thomas Ahern, the big lock, who decided that it was time to clear the ball. My kids have rugby league soon, so I won't hang around for too long, says Johnny Blaze. Well, hopefully they go all right in the rugby league. Nice early morning start on a Sunday, though. I'm sure there'll be a few people yawning when they get to the field. Line out here on the halfway line for the Lions with PJ Buata. And go the Lions, here's Hendrik Kutsia there. A line out here, going to the front, and it's well contested by Munster, but it slaps back onto the side of the Lions. Mahashi almost ran that ball into touch, very close to stepping out. Richard Creel hits the ball up. Pickled about 40 metres out from his line, now slinging pass out to the left. Chance to chip this one in behind. A bit of a loosener there for Haley at the back. And straight locked over the ball, and they do get the penalty there. Is Darian Landsberg. He's looking more trim than normal. He looks like he's lost a lot of weight in a hurry here, this big man. But, yeah, Landsberg, one of those guys that did get quite a few starts last season. Now more so used as a man off the bench, although is starting in this contest. And we have got there go the Lions. And it's 8:50 p.m. by me. What are you doing today, Hamish? So Soon as this live stream ends, I'll be having some food, and then we're heading to the golf course, playing 18 holes with the family, and then coming home from that, and then probably going out for dinner, I think will be straight afterwards with the grandparents and a few other extended family members. So I don't get a lot of sleep up until tomorrow. Nice rolling ball here for the Lions. Joining that one from the back was Niall Scannell trying to drag down PJ Botha, and has just managed to do so. Morne van den Berg, this ball available at the back here, but a good start to the match for the Lions. Now Dadian Landsberg again. Driven backwards. A low tackle. About 10 metres out from the line. Morne van den Berg, this Lions side, they are used to being underdogs. Now, going to the right-hand side. Chris Smith thought about chipping that one, or at least considered the grub of half a second, but goes off the Q1 horn. Still moving forward though here, the Lions, phase after phase, 5 minutes in. We hear the Munster chants from the crowd. Enko van Wyk gets through one tackle, but he is grabbed in the next one. That's the tackle by Dan Kelly. Michael Alalato, another defensive bit of work from Munster here. Chris Smith, short ball. It's knocked on by PJ Botha. It just came at the wrong time. And a big boot downfield from Munster. Going close to a 50-22. And tell you what, it almost was. Probably about a metre outside of the 22. But a monster boot from the home side to relieve that pressure. Are we over there exactly? And that's a fact. No Rugby YouTube commentator will give us a view. Missing out on some decent games, says Flesh. And see, normally what I end up doing is watching those games on a Monday or a Tuesday. But I did catch the end of it. I decided to be a bit dumb. And I decided, you know what? I'll try and get a bit of a nap in. Terrible idea. Woke up about 10 times more tired than I was when I napped. Because I got maybe like a 5-minute nap if I was lucky. But yeah, caught the end of that game. And it was a bit of a nail biter, that one. Now going off to the right-hand side here, Munster making a massive territory gain, and now 5 metres out from the Lions' line. This is what could hurt them badly here. The Lions at Thorpe Park, that's on the line, and Munster score to give them the early lead. And ready for the Springboks and New Zealand games? Not really. I'm looking forward to the July internationals first. I feel like a lot of people are just looking at that greatest rivalry tour, but we've got a lot of good games taking place before then. We get Springboks versus England. We get New Zealand versus Ireland at Eden Park. Like, there's a lot to look forward to. And we've also got all the playoff games as well of URC, Super Rugby, Premiership, Top 14, the Champions Cup final next week, the Sevens, Crescendo also happening. But when it comes to it, yes, it will be a very exciting one. That kick has gone over from Munster, straight out in front of the posts. Adding the additional 2 for Jack Crowley. And oh no, who that bloke? That was not Jack Crowley in the number 10 jersey. They've had a late change here. I think that was JJ Hanrahan. Hanrahan. I can't say his name. I can say Crowley a lot easier. So yeah, Crowley out late. That's a big hit to the Munster team. I know that they mentioned about how they lost Wickerley in the locking duo. But a couple late changes for Munster. Do New Zealand have a game in June? No. They jumped straight into the July internationals, which I don't think is very smart. I think they should have a game in like the late stages of June just to give them a run around, even if it's up against like a New Zealand A side or something. Just give them a match under Dave Rennie. That one's going to be booted into touch by Craig Casey. Ready for your birthday and Christmas? Well, to be fair, that's getting closer, isn't it? Both in December. We'll be here next month, the way that the year's going. Already in May. Line out here for the Lions. 45 out from Munster's line, and they have to try and answer back with a try of their own. After conceding early, they were right on Munster's line as well. That's the brutal part of this competition. That can be a full field counter-attack and try. It was all from that big boot downfield. You know, able to clear their lines nicely. Richard Creel, big collision there. And now passing it off to Klakani. Way to the right. Morne van den Berg goes to Richard Creel. Got a good attack in play in general here, the Lions, in terms of what they've been able to do throughout the season. Some very crispy passing. Finding the hands off and Gilliam Peku going for the kick in behind. It bounces into the hands of the fullback for Munster, Haley. South Africa, the only team that does warm-up games outside of World Cup years. And you know what? It's a very smart thing to do. No one, well, I think some sides must think about it, but they don't do it. And for me, it's the difference between winning your first game and losing it, or having a close first game and being able to run away with it. The perfect example for it, don't shoot me, is Ireland versus South Africa 2-match series. Last July before, one of the two. But once again, don't shoot me. I think if South Africa hadn't had that warm-up game, those results could have been very different. In terms of with how close both those games were, we could have seen Ireland take the first one. But because of the fact that Ireland had rust for that first half, and we see it time and time again with sides, they go into their first game and they look like headless chickens. But I think that warm-up game is something that more sides should be making the most of, or at least considering. And All Blacks versus Māori All Blacks, maybe for June, just an idea. Says hardest. And Māori All Blacks already have a game in June. Yeah, they're taking on Japan next V, aren't they? But like they can find 15 New Zealand rugby players to go head-to-head with, even if it's in like a warm-up game behind closed doors. You know, something along those lines. Get the players going. I'm sure they'll be playing set. Oh, that's another good kick from Munster. That is a brutal one for the Lions. They will now be 5 metres out from their line with the line out of their own. And the under-20s New Zealand team has a game in June. That's true. A lot of under-20 sides do. They have got the World Championship coming up in the near future. Yeah, very nice kick from just inside of the Lions half, which is why it didn't end up being a 50-22. Now line out throw here, PJ Botha. Nicely taken by Darian Landsberg. Big attack and run from Klekani, one of the young men who in the under-20s not too long ago was absolutely tearing it up. It's crazy to think that last year he was a junior Bok. Now, Mone Vandenberg, the clearing kick off the left boot does go into touch. You think the Union should think of it, but they will say player welfare as an excuse. Yeah, maybe. I guess ideally you don't want players having too many extra games, but even if it's the fringe players who get to have a crack in that game, you know, the North versus South game we saw in New Zealand a few years ago was absolutely incredible. I remember South Africa also did. Does anyone remember South Africa Green versus South Africa Gold? Remember that game? That was a good old throwback game during the COVID and lockdown stages that we had. I don't think they've done it since, have they? Oh, why is Jack Crowley not playing? Late change. I'm not sure of the extent, whether it's sickness, injury, whatnot. But Wickerley also isn't playing in the locking duo, so a couple changes. All Blacks versus the winner of Super Rugby Pacific in June. Says Hardis. Yeah, I mean, you'd lose a few players due to them being in that Super Rugby team, but you'd at least get a game in, you know. Now, nice run forward. Looking for a steal in the breakdown. Not quite able to get it for Henko van Wyk. Now, about 10 metres out, Thomas Ahern. Craig Casey looking short side. It's going to be a 3-on-2. Nice draw and pass. And another try, or was it? No, he may have been held up there. Over the line, Brian Gleeson just couldn't quite get it down. I would use fringe players, then put the experienced ones on the bench, says Sean. Yeah, see, I think more teams should do it and take advantage of a late June game. And I get that it's outside of the international window, so certain overseas players won't be available, but you can still find a way around that. Have a bit of a run around. What happens if Munster win and Lions don't lose with a bonus point? Says Mohadeen, so the Lions would finish 7th. And they would go head-to-head with Leinster in the quarterfinals. There is potential for the Lions to go as high as 6th with losing the game, but they would need 2 bonus points from it. Going off to the left-hand side now, moving it on. Nice flat pass for Munster, 25 metres out. PJ Botha told to get out of it by Andrea Piardi. Now 22 out. Crowley back across to the right-hand side to Hodnett. Just quite structured at the moment. I'm looking at their backline here, Munster. They seem to know exactly where they want this ball to be going. Craig Casey doing nicely as the talisman. Let's say the Lions win, but Munster get a bonus point. Will they still qualify? I believe so. Munster only need the 1 point from this game. I'll show you the table again. Because, interception, and he's managed to hang on to it, Kewan Horn. If he hadn't held it, it would have been a penalty for a deliberate knockdown, but Kewan Horn has gone with a full field or about half field try off the mistake of Munster, and the Lions are back in this game now. But yeah, Munster, because of more wins, than Ulster, it means that they only need 1 point and then points differential doesn't matter. That's what ended up hurting the Lions 2 years ago when the Ospreys were on the same points. The Lions had the better points differential, but it was the win-loss ratio that took the Lions over the Ospreys into that 8th place. But that is a great try from Kewan Horn. He read the play early, saw it going out wide, managed to hang on to it. The ref that likes to have a controversial moment says Sean O'Farrell, and it was a replacement out half for Munster. I actually have no idea. We will get to see it later on, though. But yeah, they would have had to make that change due to JJ coming into the starting side. That kick has gone over from Kewan Horn, who looks like he's got a bit of a nasty cut on his cheek at the moment, but 15 minutes into the contest, and it is 7-all between these two sides. It'll be a bit of a back and forth type of fixture, it seems. If it's a draw, Munster still go through? Correct, yes. And even if they lose this game but get 1 bonus point, they still go through as well. So, bare minimum from this game, the Munstermen will be looking for 4 tries. As soon as they score 4 tries, we have our URC top 8. It's just where they're going to be sitting. But, yeah, it can all change very quickly. Now, about to be kicked off by Munster. They'll be disappointed with that one. They seemed in control, but all it takes is one good read of the play and one slight mistake of a lobby, a pass. Completely changed the momentum. These two sides were actually regarded as one of the closer games of the weekend in terms of odds. Munster given about a 66% chance of winning. Now that ball close to the sideline, trying to keep it in the field of play. It is back now for Munster. Not sure if everyone was onside there, but it's worked out in the Munstermen's favour. Now running it across. Jack O'Donoghue has to hurdle over Darian Landsberg. I swear Landsberg wasn't as light as he is now, like last season or maybe even earlier on this season. He looks like he's had a drastic weight cut for the big man. He's looking lean at the moment in the lock and duo. Now, going off to the left-hand side. No, in fact, Casey's going to change it to the right. Goes to Michael Alaratoa, the Samoan international. Now, O'Donoghue. Good again. If Munster win, Ulster are out? Correct, yeah. If Munster get 1 point, Ulster are out. So Ulster are the team at the moment on the chopping block. But of course, Munster, even if they were to lose this game and they lose by less than 7, they would actually still make it through to the next stage as well. They can go there. Lions defending nicely. Tackle from Reniar Nathaniel. Now away to the right-hand side, and that one's gone through the hands of O'Brien out wide. Let's reward the Lions with the line out. 17 minutes in. This game's going to go very quickly. Because of the fact that there's a lot on the line and because of all the maths that does go on for this contest. It'll be halftime before we know it. Ulster can still get to the Champions Cup by winning the Challenge Cup, says Sean O'Farrell. That is true. And I know that this is a bit rough to say, but they're not really at the same time. I think Ulster making it far in the Challenge Cup is actually ruined their URC campaign. Like, they've done brilliantly this year, I feel, Ulster, at least for the first maybe 2/3. But then the last quarter or so, or the last third of the URC, they've had their mind on the Challenge Cup. They've gone with slightly weaker sides in the URC to position them in a good place for that Challenge Cup. And yeah, I think that Ulster, to be honest, if it wasn't for the Challenge Cup, for me, we're a top 4 side in this URC competition. But because of that Challenge Cup and the matches that come alongside it, they've dropped themselves down to 8 or 9. Now, ball's there for Munster. Looks like there is a player down on the far side of the field. It is John Hodnett who's down. Now, Haley, tackled by Klachane. And remember, I promised you 2,000 Rand if Stormers win. I'll be honest, I'll probably forget. Mohadeen, it's about 4 weeks' time from the final. So you have to remind me if they do. Now back across. Cross kick here. Hodnett's still not looking too flash. Ball on the inside. Cleaned up, nicely taken by Dan Kelly, who breaks through a couple tackles. Funky Horn. That's a deliberate knockdown from Mahashi. It becomes a penalty. And Munster, they will once again, I believe, kick towards the corner. The crowd are asking for a card. I don't think the referee's going to oblige. But Yeah, if you're Munster, don't get me wrong, winning this game is important, but scoring 4 tries is the big one. Get 4 tries, you're through to the URC quarterfinals. Worry about winning the game after. And to be fair, if you score 4 tries, you're going to be pretty close to winning the game anyway. So yeah, we see it, Mahashi just trying to cut off that pass. I said there, just a penalty. There was enough cover to be able to stop it from being a clear try-scoring opportunity. Hodnett still getting some attention on that right shoulder. And I think he's the only injury at the moment. Looks like he was just grabbing a drink there. The Munster fly half, the replacement fly half for Crowley, was the late exclusion. Okay, just the penalty, still awarded by Piatti. I think they were just asking the question whether or not they were able to step infield there rather than having to kick right next to the sideline. But they were denied, so they will have to work with a very thin angle here, Munster, getting it out about maybe 28 metres from the line. We see at the edge at Crowley. He's wearing a Munster hoodie. I'm just waiting to hear if they say what his injury is or whether maybe he's just sick. Okay, they didn't mention him. Jack Crowley. Yep, nicely taken by Thomas Ahern. Now the maul is happening again here for the Lions. Well, sorry, for Munster. So used to the Lions being the side in red, but of course Munster also wear red, so there'll be a few times that I do that throughout the game. Now Dan Kelly backline, that was forward and also knocked on, and they'll go back for the penalty for accidental offside. It is going to be the penalty going the way of the Lions, 22 metres out from their own line. We see it there. It was just a pass a little bit too flat. And then from there, the drop ball. Kick towards the touchline from Chris Smith. And quite a handy pairing with Morne van den Berg. Has he been at the Lions 1 season or 2? Chris Smith, I'm sure this was his first year at the Lions, right? Last year he was at the Bulls. And then Pollard signed with the Bulls. Smith signed with the Lions. I think that all happened within the last kind of 12 months or so. An interesting first 20 minutes. Lions came out strong, but Munster defence stayed up. Then Munster got a relatively easy try. Then Lions got an even easier one off the intercept. Sees Yanko. And that ball stolen at line-out time by Munster. We'll now get another attack going. John Hodnett, he's going to continue in this game, even though he had a bit of a knock on the shoulder. Now going back to the right-hand side. Dan Kelly hits it up. Nankerville playing in the 13 jersey for today rather than 12. Going off to the left. Oh, Donahue. Tackled low by Mahashi. Good skill there from Craig Casey not to fall over while having to leapfrog someone. Good fend from Dan Kelly, but an even better tackle by Morne van den Berg. So these two teams fight to play Bulls at Loftus in the quarterfinal. Pretty much, yeah. And even if they don't get to play... Oh, another advantage. Yeah, even if they don't get to play up against the Bulls, they still more than likely will play the Stormers if you're the Lions. If they get a bonus point from this contest. But advantage and penalty awarded for Munster here. This is right out in front of the posts. But again, I want to reiterate. Lions just need a form of bonus point from this game. In my opinion, even though this is a nice easy one, I think you kick for the corner. You have to go aggressive here rather than going into your shell. We saw the Stormers do that up against Cardiff. They scored early with Ardre Smith, and then from there, they opted to go towards 3-pointers, ended up losing that game. Now, I guess that's probably not the best example because they did receive the bonus point, but they're going for the 3 here, Munster. Wait to see whether or not that comes back to bite them. Can't be as bad as Benetton going for a drop goal, though, in that game up against the Bulls. I still have no idea why they did that. I got their WhatsApp guys that said, hey, welcome in. Let's kick straight out in front. And the crowd go extremely silent as he looks to line it up for the 3. The strike is good. It's gone over. And we'll make the score now 10 points to 7 in favour of Munster. I think I may have changed my mind. I don't want too many South African derby matchups. Makes the other matches less interesting from my very biased South African point of view. Says Yanko. Yeah, so I guess your ideal scenario is to see 3 different games with 3 South African sides rather than, I guess, across 2 games having the 3, right? Whereas Crawley, he's on the sideline. I'm not sure why they left him out. I assume it's either sickness or injury, but him as well as Wickerley both got left out late of the lineups. What happened to Benetton? They lost badly in the end. They put in a decent fight, but they just kept on making little mistakes. I don't really care about Glasgow versus Leinster or whatever. I want South African participation. Says Yanko. Well, if we're not careful, the one that you just listed may be the final. Although, South Africa have been in the final every single year of the URC. So, that trend could continue. Evening, I'm happy to report after that Bulls win. There are no reports of domestic violence in Pretoria tonight. Says Xander. We have there the Wellington Women's Phoenix just lost the A-League final. I didn't even realise the A-League final was happening yet. For the women or the men. I think the men are at the semis at the moment, aren't they? Now a line out here for PJ Bota. Talking about the weather, how some dark clouds are fast approaching. We may see some rain in the second half of this contest. And Mone van den Berg, quick pass to his big locking partner there. Now across to the left-hand side, and that is going to be juggled but kept on the side of the Lions. Mone van den Berg, he's gone for the box kick in behind. It's going to go a bit too deep. Goes into the in-goal area. Awkward bouncing ball for Haley. It's going to stay in the field of play. The mark is going to be, or sorry, not the mark, but the placement of the ball in the in-goal area, and it will be the goal line dropout. Different tactic from Mone van den Berg there. France versus England tomorrow at 5:45 p.m. That is correct, yeah. Taking place 3:45 a.m. New Zealand time. Maybe it's another lightning delay. Please no lightning delay. We're supposed to be teeing off at about 10:30 in the morning. So a lightning delay of this game would take us through to a little bit later than ideal. Now, Klekane runs it up. He's had a busy start to this contest. Mone van den Berg away to the right-hand side. Now Chris Smith delays the pass. Goes to Kieran Horn. Mahashi trying to bump off O'Brien. Now still in the breakdown. And there is going to be a penalty advantage. In fact, it does become the penalty for Munster here. And also, yeah, exactly from the one about the final sides going head-to-head. Yeah, it would be nice to see some sort of South African representation, definitely in the semi-finals at least. The good news about a South African derby, and I know that this is a very negative way of looking at it, but the good news about a South African derby in the quarters is we guarantee one South African side in the semi. Whereas technically, if we've got 3 South African games with 3 different opposition, technically we could have 0, which I really hope doesn't happen. I hope there's at least 2 in there. What is your favourite game of today and yesterday? Just URC or Super Rugby included? I'll say, to be honest, Scarlets Dragons is probably up there. And then Glasgow versus Ulster, of what I saw from the secondary screen. I haven't watched that one fully. That's a deliberate knockdown, or is it just a knock-on? Called as a knock-on here against Munster. That is Andrew Smith, although double blow the whistle. This one's going to get checked. This could end up being a yellow card for Munster. Oh. Okay, so the touch judge has said he believes it's deliberate. Tell you what, they're not even going to TMO it. They're just trusting the touch judge. And it's a yellow card now for Andrew Smith. He'll be off the field for the next 10 minutes. It might be better for your views too. We have South African participation through to the final. Says Yanko. Potentially, although some of those other sides in there, like Leinster, if they were through to the final, I think we'd do all right. Same with Glasgow. We seem to get some decent support for the Glasgow Warriors side. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who makes it. We're almost at that stage now how we can start talking about who's playing who. But again, we're still early enough that we don't know. Completely out of Hamish, Craig from St. Francis Bay. And also we have got there, did look like he had his other arm behind the back. I think the touch judge was right there. And with my South African glasses, says Yanko. Surprising that it wasn't, that's a knock-on from PJ Bota, unfortunately for him, after almost a line-out steal there for the Lions. But yeah, normally for those type of decisions, they like to go TMO just to check the cover defender. But they said, nah, no one there, get him off. PJ Botta told to get out of that breakdown. What happens if the Lions lose? If they get a bonus point, no matter what, they are still in the quarterfinals without the bonus point. But if they get 2 bonus points, they will then play a South African side, I think. Yeah, they would. They would play up against the Stormers. If they get 1 bonus point from this game, I believe they play Leinster. And if they win this game, they play the Bulls, I believe. We have got their Cardiff pumping the Stormers with a B side was a good watch. Sayers Flesh in there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens heading forward in terms of Cardiff's confidence in the quarterfinals. More than likely playing a South African team. You have to try and do it away from home. Right, there's a player down with a bit of a headshot here. So I think they're going to be checking this one. I kind of like it. Keeps up the pace, and it's not like the touch judge is less of a referee than the main one. They're all equally qualified, aren't they? Oh, tell you what, you wouldn't think it from some of the Super Rugby ones we saw throughout the weekend. Hurricanes Blues probably the terrible example of incompetence of touch judges, but okay, they're saying there no foul play, both players dipping down. Where is this being played? Thorpe Park is where this one's happening. It's a home game for Munster. Then who Stormers play if Lions get 2 bonus points? Says Mohadeen. So if they got 2, the maths is too hard. We'll tell you at the end of the game or at halftime, based off what the scoreline is. But Munster pretty much guaranteed to face a South African side if they win. One can play Stormers A with your C side and still win, but only overseas, as only a very good CS Ben. Now, PJ Botha. On off to the right-hand side here. Mone van den Berg pops it on to Landsberg. Already 28 minutes now through in this contest. Klekane with another carry. Doesn't get as many post-contact meters as he would have liked there, but still a good old shove towards the opposition Lombard. He's wearing that number 3 jersey and will be, more than likely. Either 3 or 18 for the rest of the season due to the absence of Klabakanye. Now 20 metres out. Do you see the Reds loss? Yeah, that makes things a little bit more interesting. And once again, still the top 10 of Super Rugby's 11 can still qualify for the playoffs. Chipping behind from Chris Smith. It's going to be Frankie Horn. No, it was Landsberg actually chasing after that. That wasn't the right choice when you've only got a lock chasing after the ball. And the fullback was set Haley ready for it. More of a Stormers fan, thanks to Grant. It's nice to see a bit of arrogance put down now and again. Who has been the best performing so far out of these 2 sides, or the player specifically? I'd say Klekane's been solid. He's had a lot of carries so far for the Lions. For Munster, I think that Craig Casey's controlling this game quite nicely. There was an incident where a Benetton player intentionally knocked the ball out of Bald Nine's hands. Why was it not a yellow card? That's if you know about this moment in referencing. He did get a yellow card. It was Alessandro Garbisi got himself the yellow. It was just that the try got ruled out because of the knock-on from Ambros Papier. So, yeah, he did get a yellow. And then they reviewed it. They decided no try, but he still had his yellow card, Alessandro Garbisi. And during that period of time when they were down a man, they scored 2 tries, more than they had scored throughout the rest of the game with 15. But they've just got a bit of an injury stoppage here. The Munster yellow card will still have about, I believe, 8 more minutes remaining. Frankie Horn. I think he was the man who was down there. But line out call. There's Mornay Stain watching on from the sideline. Line out throw here again. Nicely done. Going into the hands of Frankie Horn. Breaking off the back. Mahashe Vandenberg. Killian Peku. Richard Creel. Almost going through. He's been slowed down by Haley, but they're inside of the 22 of the opposition. Now the Lions going on. Oh, that was almost deliberate as well. This might be another yellow card for Munster if they're not careful. Okay, they've called it as just a knock on. That one almost looked like more of a deliberate one than the last one, to be honest. So they may have to have a quick old look at this one. Yanko said he luckily saw yellow. What I don't understand is why it wasn't a penalty try. They just took him back. Yeah, I guess the good news for the Bulls was they eventually got there anyway, didn't they? Right, this time they're going TMO here. Where's Zano today? He was at the game, so he's probably still out and about, I would say. Right. I think this is going to be a yellow. I don't think we're getting towards penalty try stage. There was a decent overlap on the outside, though. We're going to see the replay now. Yeah, got the hand to it. There was a cover defender, but more than likely Dan Kelly's going to find himself going to the bin here. What games next week, says Mohadeen. Next week, we've got the Challenge Cup final, Champions Cup final, and some Super Rugby. I'm only going to be covering a few games, though, because we are going to be going to the Chiefs Crusaders match, me and the other Kiwi lads. So because of that, it takes really the Challenge Cup out of the equation. I don't think I'll be able to cover that one, sadly, for the Munster versus Montpellier game. The earlier game of Super Rugby on the Saturday, I don't think we'll be able to cover either. But hopefully the rest of them I will be able to. My golly, you have translation, says Craig. And that one is going to be a yellow card there. Yeah, I've translated a few messages that I wasn't supposed to see. That one wasn't one that, like, I don't think it matters that I worked it out. But no, I've worked out how to translate things very quickly on my PC. So all those times I've been sworn at in a different language that people think, nah, he won't know what I'm saying. I have. And yeah. Some people are brutal, aren't they? Not that one, of course, though. Did any of these Munstermen play in the November test last year? They ought to be getting flashbacks right about now, says Young Goat. Are you doing the sevens again? Yeah, in 2 weeks' time we will have some of the sevens, although that will also be overlapping with the quarterfinals of the Super Rugby as well as, the quarterfinals of the URC plus Super Rugby's final round. Why is Hinko not playing? It was the strange guy at 12 playing for the Lions, new guy, says Ben. So I assume you're talking about the 13, right, rather than 12, because 12's Richard Krill. He's been 12 quite a bit throughout this season for the Lions. But Henko van Wyk is actually out there. He's just playing 13 without a scrum cap, just to confuse you a little bit. But yeah, he does look different without his headgear on. But the ball is still there. Rolling maul has been dragged down nicely, defended by Munster, who stopped the Lions maul 5 metres out from their own line. Oh, a little bit of push and shove there too. Daddy and Landsberg right in the action with the Munster forwards, and it's all kicking off now between these two sides. Okay, no scrum caps, there's Ben. But yeah, he looks like a whole different player. I thought the same thing when I saw him initially. I was like, hang on, if there's been a late change? But no, he's just wearing no scrum cap today. Sometimes you forget what their haircuts look like when they've had their scrum cap on. I completely agree. Or it should have been a penalty try. Says Youngko. And Leinster fan here, come on the Lions. Says Ap Scott. So, Ap Scott, I have a question for you. Leinster, of course, through to that final up against Bordeaux next week. Quarterfinals-wise, who would you want to play? You want to play Munster? Do you want to play... Okay, they can't play Ulster. So I guess, do you want to play the Lions or do you want to play Munster in the quarters? Because I think those are the two options. Or maybe, hang on, I'm going to have to look at the table again. Or Connacht. Connacht theoretically could be the opposition as well. So who would you like to play? Do let me know if you had the ideal scenario. How's Hamish from Joburg? Go the Lions. Says Terrence. And then on is an angry little man, isn't he? Says Yanko. Who we talking? Craig Casey. I think that was started by Landsberg and... Oh no, he got elbowed in the head by his own teammate and Jeremy Luckman, which I think slightly started it off, and then Landsberg was grabbing at the ball and played Leinster. Says Mahadine, take the Lions, says Sean. And Lions because they have a tough travel. And there will be tired Lions or Munster, Connacht on a heater. Yeah, I don't know who wants to play Connacht. I don't think anyone in the top 8 would be keen on them because... Oh, hang on. Connacht versus Stormers would be a good one. But sadly, I don't think that can happen. Because Connacht Stormers earlier on in the season was one that Connacht came in as massive underdogs at Cape Town and won. Munster Connacht would be a great match to see, Hamish. says John in there. Yeah, although last week it was quite one-sided, 26-7 in favour of the Connacht boys. Munster not really finding their feet throughout that one. Good kick downfield from Craig Casey. Now another line-out chance here for the Lions. Right now, I don't think anybody wants Connacht. Yeah, they've had a dream patch, haven't they? Leinster fan, I just hope Leinster land the European Cup. 4 final losses in a row would be horrible. Says Andrew. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Bordeaux are a tricky old side, but yeah, the way that Leinster played up against the Ospreys, the good news is it seems like they've found their feet a little bit again as well. So it's going to be a good one, no matter what. A Hamish Dada moment, says Craig, and Leinster want 5 stars, says App Scott. That one's going to be on the side of Munster still in the breakdown, 40 metres out from their line. I don't see any surprises in the quarterfinal. Will be the semis, Glasgow versus the Bulls, Leinster versus Stormers. I'd like those 2 semis, to be fair. There'll be a couple good ones. Now going away to the left-hand side, Kieran Horn. As across to Henko van Wyk, the scrum capless. Henko van Wyk for this game. Now backline, Killian Peku. The ball in hand out wide. Cutting in with strides, the little grubber. Awkward bouncing ball. He's just knocked it on in the regather stage. The Stormers ever beat Leinster? Yeah, they beat them earlier on in the year, although it wasn't Leinster's side that we'll see play up against the Stormers if they play again, but then that's still like, you got to play what's in front of you, and the Stormers had a good game. That one, on the A-League Grand Final? Probably not, no. I don't even know when it was taking place. Do refs have a follow-up on the user call? Haven't seen that happen in a long time. Plenty of 9s take their sweet time. Sometimes. It depends on the referee. But there are some that enforce it. One of the English referees does quite a bit. I can't remember if it's Matthew Carley or Luke Pearce, who does go a little bit more aggressive with the use it call. Now, Smith, 30 metres out. Richard Creel moving away to the left-hand side. Nice quick hands out to Killy Mpeku. And it is the try for the Lions that will give them the lead at Thorpe Park against a 13-man Munster for now. They are making space and making the most of it. Killian Peku scores out wide. Everybody says Boots. And also we have got their Connacht are on a roll. Don't bet against them home or away, says Fleshin. And Connacht is the informed side. Going on recent results, other teams would want to avoid them, says Ronald. And also we over there, that's looking better, Lions. And UBB are good enough to win 3 in a row. But if you had to pick a team that could sneak a win against UBB, Leinster might be the team. Yeah, that's true. Leinster, of course they've got the recent, Champions Cup playoff games that, from past years haven't gone their way. But I still think that based off what they did in the URC, getting that win under their belt, that was the confidence booster and almost the game that gave them the belief that they can win finals again. And the tricky part about Bordeaux's backline is there's so many players to shut down. But Leinster, defensively, I feel like that's where that chess match really comes into play. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be covering it on the channel too. Luckily, I am back in time from our quick trip away that I'll be able to do that one. Nice, about 2 a.m. start, I believe, on the Sunday morning. Well done, the boys and the Lions. But the kick has also gone over from Chris Smith, I should mention. So that makes the score now 14 points to 10 in the Lions' favour. Andrew Smith is close to making his way back out there onto the field after having the yellow card. And we have there, long time no see. It's his cool story. What's it been? About maybe 4 hours or so. Which, to be fair, is a long time in some regards. But now Thomas Ahern takes it around the halfway line. Craig Casey passes back across to the right. 3 men here for Munster. Nice quick hands out to Jack. In fact, it's John Hodnett now cutting back inwards. And Peku makes the tackle. Munster still with 13, so they cannot afford to have any sort of clean break against them from the Lions here. Haley trying to fend off PJ Borta. 40 out. Niall Scannell, rear run from him in this contest. Only Leinster and Toulouse can beat UBB. No other team, says Ben. Also must do a game, says Mohadim. We are going to be doing that Champions Cup Leinster Bordeaux one, yes. Now Casey, cross to the right. Haley tried to sell the dummy on the outside, which did fool SJ Kutsia, but it did not tackle, or did not fool Lombard. Now Casey, they've moved up to the 22 here for Munster. Now moving to the left, they would have loved one or two more players on the outside, but of course they are missing players when it comes to that back line. Forward pass from Scanner, or at least it looked that way, bit of a hospital one to Michael Alatoa. Back across to the left-hand side again. Casey pops it up. They have got the penalty advantage too. Their tight head is going to feel that one tomorrow. And can Haino and Tim do game next week? No. So both of them are unavailable for that one. Haino's going to be playing a game of rugby, I believe. And then also Tim doesn't have access to the Challenge Cup. That looked like an illegal clean-out. And the breakdown. Now back across Luckman. Trying to bump off Klikani. Another advantage though for Munster to continue working that little bit closer to the try line. Casey joins the breakdown this time. Down to the 13. This will be quite a statement if they're able to score a try now. Casey trying to get a few more numbers on the right-hand side. Dropping the head and driving was Alex Nankerville. Now Casey across, nice quick hands. One more pass. No, stolen by Kewan, and they'll go back for the penalty. And we have got, this game is like a roller coaster. Yeah, it's been very back and forth. To be fair, it's about the kind of game that a lot of people would have wanted to see between the two sides. In terms of getting to this stage of the competition, both with a chance to get something going here. But, yeah, you get that feeling like we're in for a close finish. 5 minutes remaining on the clock. Someone will probably win this game. But for now, we've still got another half remaining. Munster should be back to 14 now. They're going to kick this one towards the sideline. Along until halftime. 40 seconds until the halftime break. Like they've said, as long as that ball didn't go dead, they would get Andrew Smith back out on the field. You cannot allow a team to score with 13 against, a team with 13 score against you. It's not ideal if you do. Because the numbers game, of course, is against them. Although we've seen plenty of sides score with 13. And never going to recover from this psychologically if Munster get a try with 13. South African teams this year are garbage, says Gorilla Dome. So what's your equivalent of garbage? Because there's 3 inside of the top 8. So, 2 have home quarterfinals as well. So is it that you're striving for just pure perfection? That you wanted 4 teams in the quarterfinals, or you wanted them to be number 1 to 4? Now, back across there. Nice take from John Hodnett. And we have you there, okay, I didn't need to ask that, says what's up, guys. But now only a couple meters out from the try line for Munster here again. Jeremy Luckman, pick and go, defended by JC Pretorius, who's made his way onto the field for the Lions. I'm not actually too sure who that's for as of yet. John Hodnett, just short again. Craig Casey looking away to the right. He snipes himself and goes over the try line for the try. And Munster take the lead back. Challenge Cup winner Ulster. Champions Cup winner Leinster. URC winner Connacht. So here's Ronald. So you're going with the Irish clean sweep in that regard. And it is thoroughly impressive that Connacht are even in this quarterfinals with where they sat a couple weeks ago. They just did everything that they needed to get into the top 8. Yeah, they're just rolling with it at the moment. And they're 14 now, aren't they? Now they are 14, yes. After that kick had gone into touch from Munster, they got back to the 14 men, still playing with the one-man disadvantage, but they'll have to wait a bit longer before they get back to the full 15. This will be nerve-wracking if the Lions' top 8 spot depended on it. Since it's in the bag, it's fun to watch a close match. Yeah, that's true. If it wasn't for... What was it that happened? That there was one extra point that was... Cardiff getting the... No, what was it that... it was the fact that Glasgow won up against Ulster. Because had Ulster won that game, then this one would have been literally playoff for the 8. But the good news is the Lions can breathe slightly easier in this case. 14 is recoverable psychologically, says Good Story. Do Munster need 2 more, says Mohadim. Well, they are currently leading at halftime, 17 points to 14. They would still need, 2 more tries to get a bonus point. and secure themselves a quarterfinal spot. Or they need to be within 7 at the end of this game. But Lions should have really taken more of an advantage. Says cool story. Sometimes it's just the way that it works out. You end up trapped inside of your own half, even though you're playing up against less players. It can be very frustrating. But they have still scored twice, the Lions as a whole. And come the Lions, bring the pride together. Says Craig Stevens. This game is well and truly up for grabs. The quarterfinals, I will mention just as we sit currently, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do a little bit of mathematics. So if this was the end score, it would mean that points differential would take the Lions with a bonus point into 6th. Although, of course, Munster would go above them. They would go to points differential games won. They would go to 6th. So Munster would be 6th. Connacht would go down to 8th. And they'd have to play Glasgow. I think the way that it's set, if that was the bonus point awarded to the Lions. So Connacht can actually really have a bit of a transfer. And tell you what, I don't know if Glasgow want to be the side that have to face Connacht. I feel like none of these top 4 sides would want Connacht just currently. For now, they are playing the Stormers, but that is, of course, going to change when we see the full-time result here. But a bit of a drop down. Sometimes you see the impact of having 13 men later in the game when the team are tied. That is true. Can really wear down on a side. Definitely if they are defending a lot throughout that 13-man time. And note Munster ahead of Cardiff now at 5. Says Ben. Wait, where did I put them? Did I put them at 6? Hang on. Got to get back in there. Yeah, Munster would be up to 5. Lions, if they receive 1 bonus point, they would go down to 8th. No, points differential would take them above Connacht. So yeah, it just means that Cardiff and Munster would be the other way than what I said. Average, what's more frustrating for you? Knockouts. When a team is behind, they keep on box kicking. Says Ander. I don't mind knockout rugby. Knock-ons rather than... I think that a side that's doing very well, that constantly knock the ball on, is very frustrating to watch. But then so is box kicking, but sometimes the box kicks work out for them. Knock-ons never work in favour of the side knocking the ball on. Because no matter what, you're always going to go back for either the scrum to the other team or they're going to get the advantage run down the field. How do South African sides avoid playing each other in the quarters? Says cool story. Dependent on the Lions, really. The Lions are the side that can decide if they're facing a South African team. If they get 2 bonus points, they will be. If they win this game, they will be. If they lose this game but get 1 singular bonus point, they won't be. They'd avoid them, I believe. But they would have to play Leinster at the Aviva. So that's not exactly fun either. And, if they play the Bulls, they've at least beaten the Bulls this year at Loftus. So that's something. Glasgow are getting their Six Nation players back. They'll be hard to beat on that pitch. Says Fleshin. And we have got there how to do... Oh, no, I read that one. And I think there's a sense of urgency that comes from being outnumbered. So each player puts in a bit more effort if they're down a man. The Box played like that in November last year. As at Moana's final game, are they not playing next year? They, at this stage, seem like they're not going to be. They had an offer from someone who was willing to pay the full amount to get them back in the competition. And Moana Pacifica chair or board members said, no, we don't want it. Because of the fact that it was going to change the eligibility of Moana Pacifica's players for the New Zealand side. That was one of the many reasons that they tried to come up with. But yeah, so Moana could have still been in the Super Rugby Pacific comp, but their board decided, you know what, no, we'd rather leave the competition than let someone else own the team, even though they have no money. So it's weird. But yeah, more than likely they are done this season with 2 more games in hand. And also Leinster at home, most likely a Glasgow versus Leinster final in Scotland. Yeah, although by the sounds of it, they aren't going to host it in Scotland. It sounds like they're looking at other options. There was even talks of them hosting it in Ireland, but then if they're playing Leinster, they don't really want to give the Leinster side the home field advantage. According to Munster social media, Jack Crowley got a knock. That's why JJ got put in. Yeah, that's very vague in terms of the knock. Hopefully nothing substantial, though, and hopefully he's back 2 weeks' time. Did they say why Wickerley got left out of the starting lineup, Sean, or was it just that they talked about Crowley? This game has given me a stroke. I can imagine both supporters are sick with frustration, says Rugabugger. And also the most frustrating thing is when a team has a game plan that is clearly not working but fail to change the game plan. Glasgow must host at Loftus. They're good in finals there, says Ben. Yeah, they got all right there, to be fair, haven't they, the Glasgow Warriors? Let me show you streaming later. No. Next stream that I've got, Saturday night next week, I believe, is going to be the next one. Unless something drastic changes and we have some sort of weird, like, middle of the week stream that hasn't been planned yet. But, yeah, we got a long time till the next stream after this one because we won't be doing the Crusaders-Chiefs game on Friday night, but Haino will be filling in for me as I'm going to be at the stadium for that one. Who did you say will replace Moana in the competition next year? I didn't. No one replacing them just yet, by the looks of it. Crowley, that is all I see. The reason why Glasgow is hosting is the Commonwealth Games, says Sean. Oh, so they put out a report saying why Crowley was gone, and then Wickerley just has to, I guess, have that little bit of mystery around him. I'd assume it's an injury in pre-match-up too, but yeah, you wouldn't know. A Lion doing stupid chip kicks in the 22. Yeah, that one from Chris Smith was a bit of a head-scratcher, wasn't it? When Haley was back there to be able to take it too. Also, can we give Glasgow their props for beating the Bulls at Loftus 2 years back? But I don't think they care where they play. Said Fleshin. The Cheetahs, nah, they're not heading to Super Rugby yet. I know that a lot of people are rumouring it, but then at the same time, now that there's a chance that South African sides pull out of the Champions and Challenge Cup, it sounds like the Cheetahs and whatnot are going to become maybe more full-time sides in those competitions, potentially, even though they do still get to take part in it. But they might have, I don't know, whether it will be a couple other South African sides like the Rikwas maybe find themselves in the equation, or imagine Boland, imagine Donovan Don tearing it up in the Challenge Cup. Just showing the replay of the try from Craig Casey. It was a nice sell of the dummy to go out wide and then just go himself. In the second half, if it's anything like the first, it's going to be pretty close between these two sides, ladies and gentlemen. Do let me know, who do you think will get the job done? And I will mention, currently, the way that this game sits, Munster do have a quarter-final spot. But if the Lions were to go on to win this game in the second half and keep Munster tryless, then there's just that little half chance that Munster can actually technically still miss out, which is unlikely, but still a possibility. +1 for the Cheetahs, says Yanko there. I think we'll go like this. I'll go like that as well. And remember that there is rumours, or that is rumours. It is more because the main South African teams are not used to international competitions, says Sean. Yeah, I think that the frustration for the South African sides is just the pure amount of rugby and the pure amount of injuries. Now, they're not the only team dealing with it, but it's one of those ones that they're probably one of the more vocal teams about it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's one of those ones that initially from signing up for playing in Europe and whatnot, they didn't know what it entailed. But then I think knowing what it entails on paper and the reality of it is two very different things. One South African team in Super Rugby can work, but are the Cheetahs strong enough? Well, they just replaced Moana at the bottom of the log. The question I have, though, is where do they play their games? Because I don't think Super Rugby, unless they are, it sounds bad to say, but unless they're very desperate to get teams back in, they would love to have a team based out of New Zealand, Australia, or the islands. Japan at the absolute furthest away because of time zones. Similar to what we saw for South African sides in the URC, it works perfectly in terms of the times. Super Rugby will want to do that same thing. They won't want sides having to fly halfway around the world to play a game and then fly halfway around the world again the next week to then come back and play another one. And so unless the Cheetahs are based out of Australia or out of New Zealand, I don't see a way that they put them in. But then also financially, is that going to be something that's sustainable? Having guys spend, what would it be, 15 weeks in certain accommodation, getting stadiums organised for them, everything along those lines. It would be quite a task, which is why I think they're more likely to look to add maybe either a new... I don't think they'll go a new Pacific Island team. I don't know if the money's there. But we might see like a Japanese side sneak in, like a Sunwolves 2.0 situation. Or out the best of Borderland Cheetahs, Pumas, Riquas, making up a team for something. Says cool story. But then the tricky thing as well is the Curry Cup season. So we have to keep mind of that as well. That is something that I think with the Champions Cup exclusion, we may see more hype for the Curry Cup as well. Both sides have made their way back out onto the field. I can't believe that that's half-time over. I must have just rambled my head off for about that 15 minutes, so I should probably apologise for just yapping for the sake of it. I think it's because I had that half nap. Anytime I'm overtired, I'm in an extremely talkative mood, which does not bode well for the golf course later on. We're actually considering doing like a potentially filming some golf. And if I've got a microphone, I'm going to have to mute myself multiple times because I will just keep on talking. Luckily not when they're playing shots, but I'll just keep on rambling outside of it. Munster, they have still got a man down. They had 2 men down in the first half. Of the Cheetahs, we're the only team we send to Super Rugby. It will look like we're trying to get rid of the Cheetahs. Says Xander. Yes, Munster has also been in the Stormers in the great final in Cape Town. It is only Leinster that struggles, ironically, in South Africa. Says Ben. Any Welsh teams not playing next year? No, I think they're all locked in for the URC. This one's going to be kicked off long and nice. Nice take in the end for Henko van Wyk. It looked like him and one of the teammates there in Mahashi were having a bit of a tug of war in terms of who actually got that ball. South Africans bring a lot to the Northern Hemisphere rugby, and I wouldn't want them to leave the cup. But honestly, we will survive if they do. Says Fleshin. One's going to be booted high and taken. Okay. That was a terrible kick from the Lions. In fact, that has to be worst kick of the day. And that's including the chip kick that we saw from Chris Smith when they were on attack. They've tried a box kick from inside of their 22 here, the Lions, but with the objective of only kicking it 10 metres forward, and it just gave the ball straight back to Munster, who are now on the counter-attack. Andrew Smith, he'll be fresh after the halftime break, but JC Pretoria's on the ball, and a great turnover for his Lions side. Yeah, I'm not sure what the tactic was there from the Lions. They decided to go for an up and under from inside of their 22, and the ball came down inside of their 22. Do you see that Hassim Peed's actually out there on the field as well? It might have been his first kick of the day. Now that one's going to be kicked downfield from Chris Smith. Doesn't find touch. Now running it forward here. Haley can't quite get through Pretorius. I missed that man on the 7 setup. But at the same time, they're a stacked team anyway, the Blitz box. South Africa pundits say Lions not playing smart. Well, that kick probably did back that up. But they're not out of this game. That's the best thing about it. They can still find a way. And Munster can still actually find a way of losing this game and getting knocked out of the URC. They need 2 more tries here as the bare minimum. Another step in the midfield. Now across 40 metres out from the line. Moving it on, hodding it. Goes quickly to Haley. Lures in a couple, although he's still running there. Mike Haley, he's had a solid game from 15. Now Luckman passes back across. It's a almost knock on, but regather. There's been a few of those in this game as well. The old regather. Jack Crowley. Way to the left-hand side. Is that Dan Kelly or Alex Nankervel on the 13 jersey? I thought it was down as Nankervel, but that's not Nankervel. That might be Dan Kelly there. They've had a shuffle in the midfield as well, it would seem. A lot of changes for Munster late for this match, but a nice steal there for the Lions. Best outcome for South Africans is a Munster win, says BHS. So that would give them, are you going bonus points for the Lions or just, because I guess they've either got Stormers, Bulls or Leinster. Currently with the way this game sits, they'd be playing Leinster at the Aviva, who they did get beaten by last week. Now, Jack Crowley, or sorry, not Crowley, Craig Casey, name that was supposed to be on the tongue. Now counter ruck from the Lions, picked up by Mahashe, who's knocked it on. They did all the hard work, the Lions, of getting that ball back just to then feed it straight back into the hands of Munster, who will go for a kick from inside of their own half with Dan Kelly, sending it downfield. That is now advantage over. Q1 Horn from inside of his 22. Kicks it off the left boot, doesn't find touch. Now Munster, rush defence from Darian Landsberg, who flew up there to make the early tackle. Told to use it again here. KC, better hurry up. Last thing that you want is for the opposition to get a scrum. How many scrums we had in this game? I can only think of one. That was near the start of the game. How many? I don't think we've had many at all, have we? Anytime someone's knocked the ball on, it's either been deliberate, so it's been called as a penalty, or the opposition just get the ball from a clean knock on. Oh, penalty awarded to the Lions there. How long into the match are they? They are currently 44 minutes into this game. We're just quickly having a look at the stats. Kicking, set piece, scrums won one each. Yeah, we've had hardly any scrummages throughout this contest. Chris Smith having a conversation here with his forwards. Knows that this next kind of 10 minutes or so in this game is absolutely crucial. But again, the Lions, they are in the quarterfinals no matter what. Munster are not. But with a win here, they would be. With a bonus point here, they would be. The only way that they miss out is if they lose this game by 8 and don't score 4 tries. Okay, commentators are saying that was the wrong decision against Andrew Smith, but it is still going to be the line out for the Lions. Mistake from Darian Landsberg. JC Pretorius plays half. Now a back to the right for Callium Peku, one of the try scorers for the Lions in the first 40. Darian Landsberg, two-man tackled in by Luckman and Hodnett, and Hodnett's ripped the ball right off him. And a lack of ball security at times throughout the second half of actually both of these teams, to be fair. Kelly, tackled by Hasim Pede. He's on much earlier than he normally would be. I assume that's due to some sort of injury for Morne Vandenberg, unless it is purely tactical. With Munster win, we can see Glasgow versus the Lions, says a BHS. 1 second, we'll go like this. So you're saying a comfortable Munster win, right? Because if Lions get themselves 1 bonus point because of their points differential with Connacht, it means that they would go above. So yeah, if Munster win by this margin, it will be Connacht versus Glasgow. If the Munster side win by 8 or more, and Lions don't get 2 more tries, then it becomes Lions-Glasgow. But now slab back there, nicely done, and here comes the run for Munster down the wing. Bit of pace being shown, but just dragged down, or is he? He does almost get it down over the line. They're claiming the try. They'll check to see if this is double movement here and whether or not there is even the grounding. You think Lions will go for a couple drop goals here? No. And if they did, that would be a terrible choice. The Lions have a much better chance beating Bulls at Loftus than trying to beat Leinster at their home. It's best for them to win here, says Ben. Who do Cardiff look like playing? They're looking like playing either Stormers or Bulls in South Africa. It seems to be the way that it's shaping up currently. Right, they're going upstairs to check this one because Cardiff have that 55. So the Lions would need 2 bonus points to go ahead of... Oh, in fact, no, 2 bonus points wouldn't put Lions ahead of Cardiff because Cardiff have got more wins. So Cardiff would keep their spot in... Well, in fact, they'd go down to 6th. So they'll play the Stormers, a rematch of the game that we've just seen. All right, they're just checking this one to see if there's a knock-on from Gleeson. It's going to be this challenge in the air, though, checking for the knock-on. Oh, it goes close to the fingertip of Sean O'Brien. There's no denying that. I think it may have just about brushed the finger. That's very hard to judge. That's actually, the slow-mo's not slow enough to be able to see the frame by frame here. They're just going to check this grounding correct. Comfortable Munster win. Lions, Glasgow, Stormers, Munster, Bulls, Cardiff. Best outcome for the South Africans, in my opinion. And that would leave also, who would that leave you? That would be Leinster versus Connacht. That's a tricky one. Because we've also got to remember, depending on how Leinster go in their Champions Cup final, they'll either be on cloud 9 from winning, or they'll be looking for redemption from losing. So, that could be a good old game up against Cardiff. I'd love it if the Stormers play Cardiff again, says Martin. Right, so it is going to be going back for the knock-on. Okay, so the knock-on will be about 45 metres out from the line, but it was a close chance for Munster there. They didn't actually get to the stage of checking the grounding, which initially looked like Kieran Horn may have got his hand underneath the ball. Yeah, I think Kieran Horn would have stopped that from actually being grounded anyway. From the replay, probable doubt. Yeah, it seems that way. Although the knock-on, it looked like it was close enough to his fingers to have gone forward. Stormers would have a better option, or would be a better option than the Bulls up in the atmosphere. And no, Bulls versus Munster, Stormers, Cardiff. Munster win big, says Ben. We got their redemption match of note. Yeah. It'll either be 2 from 2 or 1 each for those two sides. But of course, winning the one that's a playoff, people would say, is the much more important one. Hassim Pete about to feed this ball into the scrum. This will be the third one of the day. Only had 1 each for these two sides in the first half, I recently learned. Okay, Piatti just talking to one of the front rowers. One of them was saying set. And Piatti pretty much said, did you hear me say it, or why are you saying that? Obviously trying to lose that confusion that may take place at the scrum of joining at the wrong time. Hassim Pede, another player who was in that under-20 setup for the Box. They have quite a strong career, the junior setup, but since joining the Lions, hasn't had a huge amount of starting opportunity. That's a big old scrum from the Lions, and the penalty advantage in play. It's going to be their penalty. Stormers will beat Cardiff. Said Martin. Not on last night's showing. Oh, face to face there. Klakani and Jack O'Donoghue went nose to nose. Yeah, it seems like there's a bit of attitude there between the two players. And Klakani has to keep his emotions under control, says Youngcoat. And Stormers will easily beat Cardiff and Cape Town. The semi-final is the bigger problem. They really messed up last night badly, and all their hype players could not save them. Says Ben, now that one hasn't found touch from the Lions off winning the penalty, and a big boot downfield from Munster, just keeping the ball in the field of play was Kieran Horn. Now, chipping it in behind. And it is going to be now play on here again. And forced down by Munster, so it will be the goal line dropout. Sad how obsessed European and New Zealand rugby social media is with South Africa, says Gaz. I think for us here in New Zealand, like from what I see as well, it goes both ways. And it doesn't help because people seem to try to purposely rack up the South African fans. And there are some that bite very easily. It's the same with the South Africans racking up the New Zealanders, racking up the Irish, racking up the English. Like, you've got the fans who just enjoy rugby for the rugby, and you've got the ones who enjoy annoying everyone as much as possible. And, like, unfortunately, like, you get that with most sports. Rugby has become pretty bad with it in the last few years in terms of the constant back and forth between fans rather than just, kind of just enjoying the game. How's the game been? Just switched on the stream. Evening all, says Michael. Doing all right in terms of both these sides. A few handling errors along the way have taken some of the steam out of the sails, or some of the steam out of the match so far, but it's close enough that it could easily go either way. But they're just showing here whether or not this kick actually did go into touch. Craig Casey had to jump back into the field of play, which it seems like he was able to do. Pissing on the Welsh, says Fleshin, in case he tried to save the wrong way. Oh, yeah, no, he started out of the field, didn't he? The player starts from outside. Okay, so pretty much the ruling there is Craig Casey did everything right except for tapping the ball back in rather than catching it. You are allowed to jump from outside of the field if you do catch the ball on your regather infield, but if you just slap it infield, it doesn't count as it counts as then being out. Hopefully that makes sense. One of those other intricate little laws that we have in this game. I tried to do a bang emoji, but did a BD. It says, cool story, and also maybe it's a good thing that the Storm has lost because all their teams have a terrible game. Or because all teams have a terrible game, surely they can't play worse. Well, the thing is, I mentioned about it earlier on, I'd much rather lose that game than lose the quarterfinal. You know, they've had their almost, not reality check, but they've had the realization that they can lose games if they don't play their best rugby. So now going into the quarterfinals, you play 3 good games in a row, you win the title. So that has to be the mindset of the Stormers side, but it is a 5-metre line out here for the Lions. They eventually got to the right decision, and they are going to look to get this rolling maul going in a forward direction. Munster need to win this. Clayton just seems like the right man for the job. Says Michael. Pitia Porta just goes down. And, Piatti was about to blow his whistle there for that ball not coming out. Now going off to the right-hand side. Lions still 5 metres from the try line. Hassim Pede goes across to Nofnahu. And now Hassim Pede sniping run 2 metres short. Only about 3 metres in from the touchline. Chris Smith has to play half. Cross to PJ Borta again. Now told to use it. Obstruction. I was about to say Mahashi's gone through first. Klakane's gone through second. And Munster get themselves the penalty. And we have got there. Come on, Lions, do it for South Africa, says Daniel. Munster successfully defended a very similar maul to this one earlier, says Youngko. And also we have got there, JC, will South African fans ever be happy? Need to placate them. Just keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it, says Robert. And also we get apparently a new rule change. Is that it is now legal to gouge Welsh teams, says Xander. We have got there, Welsh fans still crying about a small eye gouge. They never let it go. Yeah, although that, once again, that's similar to all fan bases. They've had their moments that, you know, there are plenty that we could use as an example, but it's not worth going down that track because then it just adds more negativity into a game that currently needs positivity more now than ever. But, yeah, once again, you get it with all fan bases. You get it with every team. The side that you go for, you're normally a little bit more unaware of the ones on your side doing it. But it is what it is, you know. Social media has kind of ruined sport in a certain regard because people can put an anonymous account out there and just write all of the most terrible things about rugby players and they get no repercussions from it. Other than that one bloke for the World Cup who got like a fine for a death threat to a referee, didn't he? I think other than him, no one else has been prosecuted for what they've said online when it comes to rugby players, no matter how bad and, you know, threatening it has been. Yep. Rolling this one back. Craig Casey going for the chip in behind. Nice take from JC Pretoria, so they'll go back for the penalty. Really common. Says Fleshin. And Stores will be good at home. And then the hype will go into overdrive and then reality hits them when they have the semi overseas. Old movie again and again, says Ben. South African fans are always happy these days. Our rugby is cooking. We play a lot of it now that we are free from Super Rugby and have Rassi at the helm, says Tree Fellow. This is going to be the penalty for Munster. We'll kick this one towards the touchline again. One goes into touch. Yeah, anonymity has its pros and cons, says Youngco. A good Lions performance, but with a loss could lead to some decent playoffs or something. E equals MC squared. Yeah, it's still confusing in terms of who plays who. And up until the final whistle, because of the fact that if Munster won this game by 10, you know, if they score again, or even if they won it by 8, that changes the equation. If both of these sides go on to score 2 more tries, that changes the equation. Lions are an absolute disgrace to the sport. In what way? They have made the quarterfinals for their first time in the URC this year. No matter what happens from this game, they are through to the quarters. So, surely with the fact that it's their highest ever finish, that's worth something, isn't it? Although they are about to concede. Craig Casey, a couple metres short of the line. JC Pretorius was lightning quick in the breakdown, but wasn't quite able to lock over the ball. Alan Alatoa crossed to Thomas Ahern. He reaches over and scores the try now for Munster. That gives them the 8-point lead. And we have got their Welsh fans should be happy with Wrexham. They're better than the Welsh rugby team. Says Gaz, this looks like Ahern may have hurt his spine here in the scoring process for Munster. It's the last thing that you want is to lose players at this stage of the year. Craig Casey, he's had a good game so far, finding the gaps in the defence. Looks like Munster going to Loftus. Says Ben there. It's a nice try. And up the Blues, says Rugby Itch. Yeah, that was a weird game, wasn't it? What did you think of some of the officiating in that one, Tim? I know I saw about 5 forward passes that weren't called, and then the one that wasn't a forward pass was called. So it was quite a confusing day at the office for that one. That one has gone over with the kick, so that is going to be 10 points now advantage for Munster. And we have got the Greatness Lions wheels coming off, or what? This is what's so frustrating. The Lions chip away and eventually mess it up. Then when Munster attack, they score immediately. It's like neither of their defence nor their attack is up to snuff. And do they need one more? One more try for Munster would give them 5 points from this game rather than 4 if they were to win it. So currently the way that it sits, Munster would move up to 55 points with 11, so they'd go to 5th. So actually, no matter whether they get a bonus point or not from this game, they would still finish 5th in the overall standings. It would drop Cardiff down to 6. Lions, if they get a bonus point from this game, would be able to go ahead of Connacht due to points differential. But, well, actually, the Lions could score 4 times but lose this game by, of course, it wouldn't happen at this stage, but they could lose it by 20, which would then actually still mean that Connacht are above them. Don't get me started, Hurricanes deserve the win. As he said, many calls were not made, says Tim. Yeah, it's intriguing now, because all of a sudden it becomes the chance of a Crusaders home playoff up against the Blues. Which, good for me, because I'll be only about 30 minutes from the stadium that day, so I could actually potentially go. But I think they'd much prefer to play it at Eden Park if you are in the Blues' shoes here. Leinster fans ruin the reputation of Irish rugby fans. I love Munster in fairness, says Gaz. It seems like you don't like a lot of fan bases, to be fair, so it's probably nice that Munster get your support. So it seems like Leinster, Europeans, New Zealand, all are on the list of fans that you don't appreciate or don't like. And there's more full Munster fans too. Says, oh, that's a tricky name. Is it Fieremas? There's a lot of E's in there. 7 E's. 2 R's. How are you, Tim? Says Martin there too, as I try and learn how to spell and pronounce things. We have got the as long as starting scrum half and hooker. Start against the Bulls for the Lions. Bulls will win. Says Francois. Looks like Ahern is making his way off the field now. And Gavin Coombs has also made his way on. Good catch from the referee. Gets the cheer from the crowd. Sorry about that. No, you're all good. Hopefully I slightly got the pronunciation right. That's objectively too many E's, says Yanko. No, mate, Rugby Itch, says Robert. Line out throw here for Munster. It is the replacement hooker. Niall Scannell went off relatively early for Barron. 40 metres out from their own line. Munster 1 try away from the bonus point. Not that it will change where they sit, but it would also secure the victory, I would say, with 1 more solid try. Munster fans are similar to Bok fans. Chilled, says Gaz. Sorry, I couldn't see because of there's like a little pop-up. So all I saw was like chi. And that was all I got to see until it moved up a little bit. It's definitely too many E's. Says Fieremas. Now that one's going to be a good kick in mine from Munster. Again, just that territory gain. Shark fans are the most balanced. Hey, guys. I'm in China. They don't even know what rugby is. All these yellow... Oh. Play badminton. I like badminton. Badminton's good fun. I once played in a badminton tournament for the high school. But also on that same day, a local building burnt down and like 3 people died. So that was probably the one that took the headlines rather than our way that we played in the badminton tournament, which was not well. We were lucky to be there. I think they just let us play because we were from the school. But yeah, that's why I don't forget the day that I played in a badminton tournament, because there was a local tragedy. Now, line-out throw here for the Lions. It got very morbid very quick, didn't it? We never disrespected New Zealand fans when they won the 2015 Rugby World Cup, says Gaz. And also, what does your name mean? Where did you get it from, says Xander. We had it again, brother. Thanks for the stream, says Gideon. No worries at all. And we have got plenty more coming up next week. That's a hard landing for the Irish winger, but it's going to be beautifully taken by Lions with JC Pretorius moving up to 40 out. This is where they have to strike. 20 or so minutes remaining. If they can get something going soon. Here's the big run from Klikane. Beautiful round the back flick past to Dadian Landsberg. Another offload. That's another deliberate knockdown from the Lions. This one, it's just going to be ruled as a penalty rather than a yellow card. Have a great channel, mate. Solid job, big man. Says Mordenar there. Thank you very much. It's gone by different things. Barely put together, says Fury Moose. And Munster are insufferable. A bang average team with an inflated opinion of themselves. See that, Scott? But to be fair, they've at least won a URC-like title, so that gives them something to brag about a little bit, doesn't it? But, yeah, the thing is, as long as the team makes the top 8, they've got a chance. That's the way that I always look at it. And, yeah, this Munster side, more than likely facing the Bulls. That'll be a good one. I've started to like England fans too. They don't carry stuff for years. Huh. Okay. We have got there, what a back flick pass. Yeah, beautifully done by Klikane. In that scenario, badminton is the only sport my wife can play, says Fleshin. I'd like a bit of badminton. I feel like badminton, without offending badminton people, badminton for me is just more like easy to pick up and go than tennis. You ever played tennis up against someone who's been completely useless? You hit the ball to them, they miss it. Every time. And you get sick of that. But in badminton, you just hit it higher, and they wait, and they wait. And then they sometimes hit it back to you. So that's the bonus of badminton. I haven't played badminton in years. Maybe I should start again. See how far I can go. Probably not very. I'll probably pull a quad muscle as soon as I start playing. Now, Lions, that was an interesting choice. They took the 3, but it does give them the bonus point just for now. I can tell you proper Munster fans are not that way. Well, there's lots of trolls online who are pretty bad. Yeah, fans in stadiums compared to fans on social media, completely different equation. Scottish fans have been disappointing lately. What, that they haven't been annoying you? The boys need this away win, says Gideon there. Now running this one forward again for the Lions, looking to go aggressive for the final quarter. The flick pass guy is playing well. So his name is Klikane. You prefer badminton or pickleball? I've never played pickleball. That seems a little bit the same as tennis, though. You've got a pretty small racket to try and hit a ball. So at least, like with badminton, if you've got a light enough shuttlecock, it won't go down too quick. Table tennis, Rock, Hamish, do you play? The problem with table tennis that I have is I need to find someone to play it with me. Because about 4 years ago, I got a table tennis table for my birthday. People would play it with me for like the first couple of days. Haven't been able to find anyone to play it with me since. We have got the, I can't believe Hamish played tennis with my girlfriend, never hits it back. Says Lawless. And you want to support them and you want to say, yeah, that was close. But when they're missing by half a metre, you gotta be realistic and say, listen, maybe tennis isn't for us. That one's going to be counter-rucked by the Lions. It's become a general sports chat at the moment, but this game's heating up for the final 18. I don't know why they've gone box kick there, the Lions. Or sorry, Munster. They've done exactly what the Lions did in the first half. We have you there. Great Leinster game today. Any thoughts on the game, Hamish? Second on the table now. Yeah, brilliant performance from Leinster, knowing that they had to go into that game up against the Ospreys and get a win. And they decided, you know what, we're not just going to get a win, we're going to get a comfortable one. That was the thing that made it much more impressive. Nothing wrong with playing badminton, but playing badminton and being totally emasculated and effeminate is a totally different story. Says Mordenard, it sounds like you've gone to some badminton and you've been really annoyed with someone. Oh, please have a look. Oh, okay. We have a serious allegation for foul play. is what the referee has just said. They're just checking to make sure they've got the right number. Oh, a spit in the face is the comment from the Italian. A spit in the face. I can't say it too well. I wish I had an Italian accent. I have a night in Cardiff as with Munster fans, a great night. But the next day I'm out with the wives. They're checking a spit, yeah. If a Lions player has purposely spat at a Munster player, he's gone for like 9 weeks. Maybe not 9, maybe 6 weeks. But this is a serious allegation. It's not quite a testicle tickle, but it's definitely up there in terms of not idealness. No one attacked New Zealand fans when the All Blacks were dominant just because South Africa is doing well. There's racist remarks made on social media about Bok fans in South Africa. I mean, it's similar to what we saw for the New Zealanders about their Pacific Island players, isn't it? But once again, depending on what side of the equation you're on, depends on what you normally see. You're more likely to see the negativity that's put towards the side rather than the positivity, which I think there's been a lot of positives put towards the South Africans as of late. Is it a red card? It will be if he did spit at him. They're just trying to find the spit. They're trying to get the TMO to zoom in close to see whether or not there is the who allegedly spat on whom. The number 16 got spat on for Munster. They don't know the number yet of the man who gave him the at him. But they're just trying to find what ruck it is. So this could take a little while, but obviously there's been something serious enough that needs to be checked out. Pointing over at the near side of the field. Spitting is fine. My brother always spat on me. Big deal. Wait, I assume you're saying no big deal rather than big deal. Why did your brother always spit on you, by the way? Like, for fun? Was he just like randomly, hey, you're my brother, have some of that. And then just, like, how do you get in that scenario where he just randomly spits at you? Is he an alpaca? Maybe. And he's, maybe that's where it's come from. We have got there who looks like a spitter in the Lions. That's vile if it happened. A bit strange, mate, says David. Yeah, to spit in a professional game of rugby. This to me, like, they're still trying to find it. Nothing clear and obvious, but then they can't work out what breakdown it was in. I feel like that's where you got to talk to the player who allegedly got spat at. Yeah, they're trying to work out which ruck. The player who got spat at isn't telling them. So surely you tell them what ruck it is. Have you seen the face of 16 Munster man could help himself? Says Francois. Yeah, behavioural issues, no real reason. That sounds like an eventful household. Going to be hard to find. Well, it is, definitely without the help of the player. I would think that a referee in that scenario would go over to the player and say, which breakdown was it that you got spat at? That's easy enough. It's also now raining. Maybe he got confused and a bit of rain hit him in the face rather than spit. Okay, the two skippers are being called over here. I think they're going to say they can't find anything. It's probably something that they'll check later. Up the wires tomorrow morning, says Mondo. Yeah, who are they playing? The Brisbane Broncos, are they? Okay, so they've just pretty much said someone after the game will deal with that. Right, so Craig Casey's frustrated here, but they're going to check it after the game. Get over it, he's drunk. More than a bit of spit in the clubhouse. Oh, we have there. A player could be lying. Tom Curry part 2. Says Gaz. Well, to be fair to Tom Curry, he wasn't lying. He just didn't understand what was being said. Like, in terms of the translation of it. So I guess, like, he commented on what he heard. He just didn't. Like, you're looking at that scenario with Jan-Hendrik Wessels as a decent example, seeing as they never actually found any proof of it, but he still got a ban from it. Yeah, mate, Brisbane, says Mondo. Remember when Tom Curry thought English was the only language in the world, says Gaz? And someone peed, maybe? No, I think... It's not a Jerry Collins old school days situation here. There's no peeing on the field at this point in time. We have the evening Jack says on the right. Caleb Tangitau injury. Who do you think takes his All Black squad place? They're probably back to either a Leroy Carter or a... I'm not sure who else they go with. Slippery ball situation there for Lions, or sorry, for Munster. They're getting me every time with these red kits. They would normally have Lions wearing black, and they've got 17 minutes. Big controversy on rugby in the last 5 minutes. Probably. But we'll see what happens from it. Whether or not there is a player who gets suspended, or whether it's just cleared as a bit of rain. That one's gone into touch there. The Lions driven over the sideline. And Pete going to score the draw try. Would you rather take a ball grab or spit in the face? That's a tricky decision. Preferably, if I'm playing rugby, I'd like neither. You know, in an ideal world. I think I'd take a ball grab, though, to be fair. If I had to choose. What's the score? The screen is back on my side. So at the moment, 24 points to 17 in favour of Munster. They have got 3 tries. Lions have got 2. And as we sit here currently, both sides have qualified for the quarterfinals. Now, cross kick attempted by Munster again. Although, just easy catch for Angelo Davids. No pressure on him whatsoever. Kewan Horn kicking this one downfield, looking for the 50-22. But because of the wetness, it's actually made the ball pull up a little bit more. Nice take from Kewan Horn. Or no, in fact, this time it was Chris Smith at the back. Chasing after this one. Doesn't quite make the ground. Mike Haley. He's made a lot of metres from that fullback position today. All being dragged down by Eddie Davids. And it turns out to be like Curry. Barron is going to be made fun of every time it starts raining. Luckily, that almost happens in Ireland, or almost never happens in Ireland. My cousin team had a bottle of vodka and chicken vindaloo blended. And you had to take a shot. Jeez, that's a brutal combo. It's like a bit of cramp there. One of the Munster players is struggling big time on the ground. We actually saw in the Fijian draw versus Waratahs game, while the game was still continuing, one of the Fijian draw players went down with cramp, and his teammate, while he should have been playing the game, was actually stretching out his teammate's leg. So he's a good team man, but they were still, in a way, playing with 13 at the time. Now Munster, picked up by Craig Casey. He's under all sorts of pressure. And man, did Munster get to that breakdown late. The Lions get themselves the steal in the breakdown. The alleged spit can make it a spicy ending, says that Scott. Well, I think it's going to be what we find out after the game. Because, of course, that is quite a big talking point, I would think. So they'll look through every breakdown, zoomed in as much as they can. Is Frankie okay? Frankie Horn, he went off relatively early, didn't he, for JC Pretorius? It seemed like it was a bit of a knock. I want to say it didn't seem serious at first glance, but it's just very hard to tell. But you see Ulster out, better form than Munster, more entertaining, says Connor. Yeah, I mentioned about it earlier on. I think that Ulster doing so well in the Challenge Cup pretty much killed off their URC season. Had they not gone as far in the Challenge Cup, I think we would have seen Ulster, this is quite a bold statement, but I think we would have seen them top 4 from the way that they were playing. But it was just the fact that they had to start to balance what they were doing. Right, they are just showing the live standings the way that it is. Would be Glasgow versus Connacht in one quarterfinal. Leinster versus the Lions. Stormers versus Cardiff, so a rematch of a game we just saw this weekend. And then Bulls versus Munster. I would take those quarterfinals. I think they'd be decent as a whole. With the Bulls, Stormers, Leinster and Glasgow all hosting. It's been It's been a great year for Ulster. Says Michael. And I know scrum halves can be annoying. Being the captain even more so. A lot I can't stand Casey, says Youngco. Ball kicked into touch by Lions again down to the halfway line. Ulster are the second best team in Ireland. So here's Michael. Yeah, and unluckily going to be the only side to miss out on the quarterfinals out of Ireland. The URC, but they've got a Challenge Cup final up against Montpellier. And it would be a nice feather in the cap of Ulster for what has been a strong season if they were to finish that off. Off to the left-hand side, Hassim Pede. Chris Smith. Now Klakani. I'm very curious to know who the player is who's getting, like, the spitting allegation against them. Lions dominated this URC first time in the playoffs. Yeah, they've done very nicely. They've been 9th twice. Last year they finished 10th, I believe it was, it was actually 11th. But the 2 years prior to that, the only thing that stopped them from going through the year before that was actually the wins. They had the same points as Ospreys, but because of Ospreys getting the victory in the last round of the URC, it knocked them out. The year prior to that, they were just narrowly missing out due to the Sharks. Chicken Burger has more sense than Michael, says David. I do like a good chicken burger. Wouldn't mind one. It's currently 8:25 a.m. Is that too early in the morning for a chicken burger, would you say? I did it as a English-Welsh exile. It was awful. Over the night ended in madness, says Fleshin. Now, penalty awarded again. Best Lions team since 2016. Did you spit in school, Amish? No, I was too busy doing schoolwork to randomly go around spitting. But 22 metres out from the line. This is a chance for the Lions to bring us back to a level playing field. Six Nations injuries cost Ulster. Yeah, it did hurt them a little bit as well. But, yeah, I think the Challenge Cup success, that of course didn't help them either. In a weird way, it's a strange scenario because they've done so well in another comp, it's actually halted their momentum in this comp. Haley looks like a spitter to me, says Martin. What, the fullback for Munster. On off to the right. Now Landsberg, big chopping tackle on him. Way to the left-hand side once more here. Hinko van Wyk. It's a high tackle advantage now for the Lions. 11 minutes remaining on the clock. Too early to eat never too early to eat anything. That makes me feel a lot better about me having something probably relatively hefty after this stream. If the Lions win, we're filling up the Emirates Airline Park to the brim in the playoffs. Says just me. Although I think they're away from home no matter what. Unless they won their quarterfinal and then a couple favourites lost their semis. We have you there. If your crush spits in your face, does that count as quarter kissing? What? Lions won't win away game, says Fleshin. I think it's really hard to choose a winner this URC. Each team has the ups and downs. Who are you backing? Glasgow are going to be hard to beat, but the fact that they may be playing their final away from Scotstoun makes me think that may hurt them in the long run. But it's a tricky one. Leinster, depending on what happens in their Champions Cup, I think depends on how well they go in their URC playoffs. It's Pete on. He came on at half-time for the Lions. First thing that he did in the day was a very poor box kick from inside of his 22 to still inside of his 22. But outside of that, he's been quick in the breakdowns, as we're used to seeing for the under-20s. This may very well end in a draw. I can see the Lions scoring one more. Says Yanko, if this ends in a draw, I'll have to do more maths, won't I? And that will completely change the equation for who finishes where in the URC standings. The Lions, though, a good kick to the corner from Smith as it is bucketing down now. Looks like another injury. This is Hinko van Wyk. Oh, that's a big player to lose now for Lions. And if he's not playing in the next game, massive gap in their side. We have got the even of Ulster don't get in. Qualitatively, it's a good season as they have positivity in their camp. Munster, on the other hand, have a lot of negativity around them. Years of mismanagement. Says Fury Mears. And also, if they're playing quarters away anyway, why are they breaking a league here? Says just me, another penalty awarded to the Lions, 5 metres out. I say Munster have to be very careful here that they don't get themselves another yellow card. Is Pete on? Once again, yes, he is. He's been on for the last 30 minutes. And we have got their 4 tries and a draw, 55 points. Lions play the Bulls. Ooh. Who would Munster play in that case, Duncan? If that is the case. And we have got there, have you ever spat on a pigeon? No, I can't say that I have. Is that like a common thing? Oh, nice pass from Pete. Klakane dragged down just short. Now, once again, pick and go. That's very close to the try line. The Lions are claiming it, But Munster are too. Munster have held him up. And that looks like Gavin Coombs. He's celebrating it big time. He was looking at the camera saying, yep, I've got that one. Is it just me or are the pens kind of piling on for Munster? One more should walk soon. Yeah, I think they've been given that warning by the referee. The amount of times that they have infringed, definitely in the second half. But Gavin Coombs, he got under it. He stopped it from going down. And he looked straight at the camera and seemed to know where it was. And gave it the big fist bump. Munster play Glasgow in that case. If it was a draw. Yep, Chris Smith up to Klikane. Here comes the big man at 7. He has been stopped in his tracks. Eddie Davids making a tackle past the ball, but can't hold that against him. Now backline movement, Chris Smith. Moving on to Delport, who has made his way on due to that injury of Henko van Wyk. Again, that is a big concern as we get closer to the playoff games. Players being out with all sorts of injuries. Now Mahashi. That's exactly how you got to tackle that man. Round the boot, Lasers Klikane definitely enjoyed that. Says Janko, yeah, he's thoroughly enjoying his time in this physical matchup. Now, crowd asking for a penalty. I don't think they're going to receive it. I've seen Pete. 8 minutes now left between these two sides. Both are confirmed currently going through to the next stage of the competition. But again, it can all change in an instant. If Munster were to concede 2 more tries here, both converted, and then the Lions were to somehow get another 3 points, Munster would be out of the URC. Now JC Pretorius, close to the sideline, trying to cut back in, and he's managed to get through everyone. He wasn't held in the challenge, although Now's rolled the slightly wrong way. And Munster will be playing balls, no, says Ferima. And we have there the drop from some of the comments here are part of the channel. How you commentate and blend the comments at times, hilarious, says Anthony. Well, I have to say, there's never a live stream that's the same as another one, because some of you guys, the way that your brains work is very entertaining. That's a cross kick from Hasim Pede. The Lions. Oh, Davids doesn't quite win the foot race. Neither man got it down. It does get forced dead in the end. Henko got chosen for the alignment camp for the Springboks. Are we sad to see him not get his debut? Yeah, it would be a massive, because that's next week, isn't it, that alignment camp? So I'm not sure if he'll be recovered by then with the way that he was limping off the field. If it's a draw, what's the situation then? See, Xander, then depending on the 4 tries or not, would be the situation. So both sides would have 3 tries, so they've received 2 points each. Whole comp is exciting, especially as nobody wants to go playing South Africa, says Affliction. Yeah, so these sides trying a little bit harder in the final moments, aren't they? The Lions, they currently do have a bonus point, but if Munster were to score any more form of points, they would lose that. Now running this one forward for Klikane. Please commentate on the game. There was a stoppage, which is why we weren't mentioning it too much. But now going away to the left-hand side, Chris Smith moving it on. Q1 Horn kicking it in behind. That again is just the wrong choice from the Lions. That ball going to roll too far. Grounded in the in-goal area. Another goal line dropout, which will give us another about 30-second break. What team do you support? Please answer me. I don't actually have a team, believe it or not. I'm that impartial that I just like most teams, to be fair. Looks like a bit of an injury here for the Munster 17. In this case, it is Josh Wickerley. We have got there, thought that guy was going to get in. Well, it looked like David's had the pace to go. But then just at the final moment, so those last couple yards from Munster, to be able to get back and cover. Quinn is on the field for Gleeson. I see the disrespect aimed at South Africa. Nobody wants to go and play in South Africa. But the problem is, Gaz, you've taken that as an insult. But the reason he said it is because teams don't want to play in South Africa because they have a big chance of losing. It's all about how you take comments. You know, there are times where, if that's an example, you may have taken things out of context and taken them as offence when they just aren't meant to be, you know. But yeah, it was nothing negative about South Africa. It wasn't the travel or anything like that, although the travel would not help, of course. But like, it's more so just the fact that the South African sides in South Africa, pretty handy record. What team do you support? Please answer me. Once again, I still don't have a team compared to what I had 2 minutes ago. Now, Hassim Pede sitting about 40 metres out from the line. And they're going box kick here. This one's going up high. Slapped back by the Lions. South Africa is tough, says Duncan. Yeah, and on home soil, whole different beast. Now, Davids goes across there. Chris Smith moving the ball on. Mahashi, great hands from Kewin. He's actually at that same fumble. Another one. But they've gone backwards twice with the ball. And now Davids running up the middle of the field. Offload there. I believe that would be Kwama. Now grab it in behind, and it goes into touch. The Lions are playing this game like they're leading in terms of some of their decisions on attack, but they're actually down by 7. Entire Lions defence is always offside, says just me. And we have got theirs at whining about South Africa. I stopped the Marta nonsense. I was South Africa myself. Respect all teams and nations. Enjoy rugby, says Ben. Exactly right. Like, there are ways of enjoying the game of rugby without looking at the negative side of it. But, referee says carry on with the game. Player was down with a bit of an injury, but he's back up now. Time still at 70 minutes. Time should be at 76. And stop the kicking, says Ben. And we have got this. Ulster's rooting for the Lions. Yeah, in a way. If the Lions were to score 2 converted tries and a penalty, like, that's a lot to do, though, isn't it? Because even if they get 1 point here, Munster would go ahead of Ulster. Now line out. Barron running off the back. And now with the log look, if it was to end now, says Hardis. Munster, I think we'll wait until the end just in case Munster score again, because then that will change. Or not really, they'd finish 5th no matter what here if they were to win this game. And the Lions would be in 7th. With the way that it sits, but if they end up losing this game by more than 7, they would then be in 8th, playing Glasgow. But currently they're playing Leinster, so either way it's not very fun. Hassim Pede, another box kick. Why are they kicking so often here, the Lions? Maybe they're happy with where they sit currently. I hadn't really thought about that. Maybe they don't mind the fact that they're going on to face Leinster in the next game rather than playing a South African derby. Remaining time, currently 3 minutes, and Munster have got themselves the ball. Told to use it. Casey looks like he is also going to go down the route of box kicking. And one goes high again. And Davids gets back for it nicely. Chris Smith across to the left-hand side. Kewin Horn kicking that one low. And again, just a bit too much on it, although he decided to play it inside of the field of play there for Hannah, which was an interesting choice because he could have just let that one go in and then had it as a 22 dropout, but I feel he thought that he could get that one into touch. And that was Lions' plan, says Martin. I imagine how Northern Hemisphere rugby media will react if South Africa wins the 2027 World Cup. We probably won't have to imagine it because you'll tell us about it, more than likely. But kicking behind here, nicely blocked there from Munster. And they end up with the ball around the halfway line. Kicking behind now from the Munstermen. And the chase. Looks like Smith is going to have time to be able to react. Now Kewin Horn across to Mahashi. That's a good low tackle. Loose ball. Picked up by Kewin Horn again. They're 10 metres out from their own line here, the Lions. Under a lot of pressure. Will Munster get a home quarter final as it stands now? No. No matter what, they are away. And no matter what, they face the South African side pretty much from here. Now, Chris Smith kicks that ball into touch. And 100 seconds remaining on the clock. Still separated by the 7. Lions would get 1 bonus point. Munster would get 4. Hamish was a Cheetahs supporter, but things changed, says Xander. And maybe the Lions heard what I said about maximum South African participation in the quarterfinals. You're currently avoiding a South African derby. Yeah, so Connacht wouldn't finish 8th if Munster can score more points here. But either way, Connacht will be playing one of the top 2 sides. That is the way that it currently does sit. What's the chance of 3 South African teams in the quarterfinal and not facing each other? If it stays exactly how it is now, extremely high. The only way that it changes is if the Lions score here. Then it becomes the chance of a South African derby. I had a few cold beers in Cardiff with South Africans, but honestly, the Kiwis are a bit more looser and funnier. Says Fleshin. But Weedham, their rice cakes? Who's rice cakes? And Lions still kicking wise, says Francois. I think they're happy not playing a South African side. I think that they don't mind this margin at the moment. Because the thing is, the players would be well aware of what they have to do to get different opposition. Oh, a nice line out there from Munster. I don't know why I got so excited. It was their own throw. They are looking to take the bonus point away from the Lions, which would then mean Lions versus Glasgow in the quarterfinals. And we have got there, never have the teams been so close in the log. We've had a few close seasons. We had two sides on 50 points 2 years ago. Lions and Ospreys both finished on 50. But the Lions missed out in that scenario due to going back to how many wins each side had. Craig Casey, he's just done a little fist bump. He knows that this game is done and dusted here. And it seems like Munster aren't going to go aggressive. They're willing to just take this victory, which would pop them into a game up against the Bulls in the quarterfinals. I'm proud of these Lions and Cheetahs players. There's Martin Meyer there. And now Craig Casey, he's going to retreat. He kicks the ball in to touch. Munster win this game 24-17. Both sides book themselves their spot through to this quarterfinals. And now we've got it all confirmed, ladies and gentlemen. We can finally tell you who's playing who without any sort of confusion. So, the quarterfinals, ladies and gentlemen, for the URC 2026 competition are as follows. The first quarterfinal. In terms of 1 versus 8, it is Glasgow versus Connacht. The second quarterfinal, Leinster versus the Lions. Third, Stormers versus Cardiff. The match that we saw as 22-16 just this weekend. And then the Bulls taking on Munster as the final matchup. Munster, they are away from home in that Bulls fixture. That will be at Loftus. Stormers at home in Cape Town. Leinster at home at the Aviva. And Glasgow in Scotstoun. Or at Scotstoun, I should say. We have there, then I mean they qualify, or I mean the quality being so good from 1 to 8, says Cool Story. Yeah, it's been a very entertaining regular season, but now we're into those playoffs. Lucky Stormers' easiest match, says Ben, and Cardiff are getting put back in their rightful place after yesterday's fluke, says Youngco. It's going to be interesting. They better get the win, though, the Stormers, because... yeah, they definitely do not want to lose to the same side twice in a row. I will mention last time that the two sides played in Cape Town, it was 34-24 in favour of the Stormers. So that game wasn't completely one-sided. I'll try and find the year prior, see what I can find out, although that would have been in Cardiff, I would think, if I was a betting man. I've got to go back through the years a little bit. Cardiff beat the Stormers in 2023. Okay, this is interesting. This is shaping up to be when they play each other at home, they win. Where's the 2022 game between the sides, I wonder? I'm going back through all the history now. Cardiff beat the Stormers 30 points to 24. So currently, from what I've seen, Cardiff have a 3-1 win rate over the Stormers. And then the first initial year of the URC, Stormers beat Cardiff 40 points to 3. So Stormers have won 100% of their home games up against Cardiff. Cardiff have won 100% of their home games up against the Stormers. Cardiff sit 3-2 up in that battle between the sides. Bulls are basically Western Province 2, says Gaz. I hope Munster beat the Bulls. And Cardiff really aren't a bad team. Stormers are better, but I wouldn't underestimate Cardiff. Yeah, I think that Cardiff are one of those sides that you got to keep a close eye on. Because this season, you know, they've had their ups and their downs, but they still have a weird ability of every once in a while playing a phenomenal game. Now, they haven't done very well up against South African sides this year, Cardiff, in terms of playing in South Africa. In fact, I don't think they've beaten any South African team in South Africa, but they've beaten every South African side in Wales. So they've got a really weird win-loss rate of 100% when they play at home, 100% loss rate when they're away. We have got there, cheers, Hamish, have a good one. We have got there, come on, Connacht. Yeah, Connacht are a bit of a dark horse. They're taking on the favourites, Glasgow. But I don't know if that's the easy game. I think that Connacht, with their form, is sitting pretty nicely. What I think I see with Cardiff is quite a coherent game plan, says Fury Moose. And Connacht are literally the worst team Leinster could get. They are on an unbelievable run. Well, Leinster didn't get them. Leinster are going to be playing the Lions. Connacht will be playing Glasgow. So that's good news for Leinster in that case. I hope Stormers get shoved by Cardiff, says Ben. Over there, I hope the Bulls get pumped by Munster. Everyone seems to want certain South African sides to lose. It seems to be the one that I guess they don't go for. They want to see have a loss. Arasi will be supporting Munster against the Bulls, says Gaz. Our Lions might upset Leinster, says Just Me. Yeah, those two sides played just recently, last week, and Leinster were able to get themselves the victory in that contest, 31 points to 7. And the Lions have just lost Henko van Wyk more than likely. And whoever, to be fair, they'll check it again to see if there was some sort of truth behind the spitting allegations, but they might have a player suspended heading into that Leinster game as well, the Lions. Don't care for Cardiff. Them and Cardiff, and Connacht are the bogey teams. Connacht captain from Leinster, Leinster captain from Connacht. Says Paul, I'm a Munster fan. I can't see us beating the Bulls. But they have beaten the Bulls before on South African soil, which once again is where all the history side of things comes into the equation. They only narrowly lost to them this year in the matchup in South Africa, 34 points to 31. So, we could be in for another game like that. I think the year prior to that, did they play? Yeah, Munster lost to the Bulls in Munster, or in Ireland. Munster beat the Bulls in 2024 in South Africa. There's a lot of good little history matchups going on here for the sides. Rusty for Munster, says Gaz, and greetings from Galway. How my beloved Highlanders doing? They could be doing better, but they actually theoretically can still make the top 8, but more than likely they'll miss out, unfortunately, for the season. They actually have a bye in one of the last 2 weeks, so that will drop them a bit more. And Stormers cannot even beat Cardiff or the Dragons, says Ben. But they've now got the home quarter. So they'll try and make the absolute most of that one, I'm sure. But nonetheless, for anyone just tuning in now, in terms of those quarterfinals, it will be Glasgow versus Connacht. It will be Leinster versus Lions, Stormers versus Cardiff, and the Bulls versus Munster. Nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. We have got a few live streams next weekend. They are possibly going to be fill-in ones for a start while I am away. But then I will be back for the Champions Cup final. I'll be back for Super Rugby on the Saturday too. So be sure to check that out. But thank you all for watching. And I will see you all for the next one.